on BPR and GBH and NEP, and we open phone and text lines to talk about Governor Healey's proposal to bring speed cameras to Massachusetts. A good idea to curb dangerous driving, or another way for Big Brother or Sister to monitor us all. Then national security expert Juliette Kayyem discusses the latest on America's force buildup near Iran. Then it's former Suffolk County Sheriff Andrea Cabral discussing the arrest of a former prince, accountability finally being exacted somewhere.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then cognitive scientist Federico Rossano has been studying the interspecies communication between human beings and their dogs for years. He's featured in this great new Nova documentary, Can Dogs Talk? Finally, we open the phone lines and text lines again for M.I. the a-hole. Who's the bigger jerk? The student always running late a few minutes, or the professor who wants to fail them for being 2 minutes late? Call or text next on Boston Public Radio.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Trump is presiding over the first meeting of what he's calling his Board of Peace. He says the U.S. will contribute $10 billion to rebuild Gaza, and other countries will contribute $7 billion. NPR's Michelle Kellerman has more.
Representatives of more than 40 countries gathered at the U.S. Institute of Peace, a building that now bears Trump's name. He credits his Secretary of State for taking over the building, and he praised all the leaders who came here.
This is the most prestigious board ever put together. You know, I've seen some great corporate boards. I've seen some great boards, period. It's peanuts compared to this board.
Some of Trump's closest allies, including the leaders of Hungary and Argentina, were there, as was the head of the World Soccer Federation, FIFA. Several Western European allies who did not join the Board of Peace sent diplomats to serve as observers. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
After he meets with the board, President Trump is leaving for Georgia. He's expected to visit the congressional district once represented by Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene. She broke with Trump over the slow release of the Epstein files. The U.S. military appears to be sending even more ships and top-of-the-line warplanes to the Mideast. NPR's Greg Myrie reports this comes as the U.S. and Iran are still discussing a possible nuclear deal.
The Pentagon isn't talking about the U.S. military buildup, but flight tracking groups on social media say the U.S. is moving around 50 more fighter jets to countries near Iran. And President Trump has confirmed a second aircraft carrier is on the way. He says he favors a nuclear deal with Iran, which would necessitate more negotiations. Yet he's also voiced support for regime change in that country, which would likely require a major U.S. military operation. Iran says it's prepared to retaliate if attacked by the U.S. or Israel. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Washington.
Britain's King Charles says he is deeply concerned over the arrest this morning of his brother, the former Prince Andrew. King Charles says the law must take its course and that he is calling for a full, fair, and proper process. Andrew was formerly a British trade envoy. NPR's Lauren Frere explains the arrest is linked to alleged misconduct in office involving late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
New evidence in the latest batch of files released by the U.S. Justice Department. We've long known that Andrew was good friends with Epstein. He admits that. He settled a lawsuit with one of Epstein's underage victims. He has said he strenuously denies any wrongdoing, though. And now he's been arrested in response to evidence allegedly found in those latest documents showing that he allegedly passed secret government information.
NPR's Lauren Frere reporting from London. Stocks are lower on Wall Street at this hour. The Dow Jones Industrials are down 177 points at 49,485. The Nasdaq is down about 40. This is NPR.
888-897-9424 GBH News. That is the number to call us or the website to reach if you are interested in donating to our pledge drive, which is going on. This is our winter pledge drive. We have these a few times a year because we are mainly supported. We've always mainly been supported by the generosity of listeners like you, and we are totally supported now because the government doesn't support public radio and TV like they used to. Anyway, we have a great new gift today.
We do, actually.
Yeah, we're kind of excited about it because it is still pretty cold out. Not that bad today, but it's been freezing. We have these GBH hand warmers, Jim. Mm-hmm. They are black with the white logo on them, the GBH logo on them. Basically, you put them inside you can put them inside your gloves or your mittens, or you can just put them in your hands.
Yeah, sure.
And they warm you up. They are reusable. They are rechargeable, and they can charge your phone. They're pretty cool
That
looking.
part's amazing.
Yeah, I know. And they are available right now, only till 1 o'clock today. That's the end of our show, for $10 a month or $120 all at once. That makes you a sustaining member. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And again, this is a new gift. There aren't that many new gifts in Pledge, and this is a new one. And the other day,
It's a breakthrough.
Marjorie looked at it. The difference between me and Marjorie looked at it when the guy came down to show it to us. I actually decided to test it out. And I put my hand around it, and you know what my hand became?
Warm.
And thus
It was
the
a
name,
miracle.
Hand Warmer. So in any case, $10 a month,
great.
$120 all at once. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Whatever you can give is much appreciated.
Listen to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We want to let you know there aren't going to be any shows at the Boston Public Library until March 3rd, so we won't be there tomorrow, although we'll be back here every day, as usual, in our studio in Brighton. The mayor of the city of Boston, Michelle Wu, is going to join us on March 10th, when we will be back at the Boston Public Library. She'll be with us from 12 to 1. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, and we're still waiting to hear from the Attorney General and the governor. We made contact yesterday to find out if they will join us in February. So traffic cameras are everywhere. We've talked a lot on the show about our apparent surveillance state. Law enforcement can use cameras to track cars, track you, but they can't actually do any law enforcement when they catch people breaking the speed limit, at least in Massachusetts, I should say. Well, now Governor Healy is joining the push for change. In her state budget proposal, she includes this plan to allow speed cameras near school zones and active roadway work sites targeting speeding drivers above a certain miles per hour above the speed limit, and there's a fine that goes with it. So what do you make of this? Any effort in Massachusetts to do traffic enforcement via surveillance camera has been thwarted by data privacy advocates, which I consider myself to be. There are also significant concerns about racial disparities, because there are racial disparities in traffic stops now in Massachusetts. As I said, people of color are over-policed and face traffic stops at a much higher rate than their white neighbors. Would cameras exacerbate the situation or make it better? Or should we just join the other, I think it's 26 or 23 other states in having these traffic speeding cameras, which, by the way, according to the National Highway Safety Administration, Marjorie, reduces serious crashes by 25%. So the issue is not do they work, because they do. The issue is, are privacy and racial disparity concerns such that the legislature should just say no? 877-301-8970. What's your position on this?
My position is we should definitely have them at school zones, and we should have them at work sites.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to have them at red lights, but I'm afraid about people taking a right turn on red, which I have done when you're not supposed to, because so many times they say no right turn on red.
Well, it's not a speeding violation. They can't use them.
Well, it's going through a red light.
Yeah, but they're not. But that's not what they're proposing. They're proposing only speeding.
I think first of all, I didn't know that we are one of the. I should have known this. We're one of the most collision-prone. I don't want them on the turnpike. I don't want them on the highway.
We know why you don't want.
We don't want them.
That is so selfish.
We don't want them on the turnpike. We don't want them in bus lanes. Okay. That's where we don't. That's where we don't want them.
Do you hear what Bill Strauss?
Maybe once or twice.
In one of the stories in the Globe, former chair of the Transportation Committee, who's on our show quite regularly, Bill Strauss. What is his argument? Is the problem with doing it is that. What is his explanation?
Well, he's basically saying, since everybody's running red lights around here.
Yellow lights.
Well, no, he's saying that everybody uses it. I mean, I drive down Commonwealth Avenue at Kenmore Square all the time, and everybody goes through the red light at Commonwealth Avenue. The first row always goes through the red light. The second row may go through the red light. The third row has to stop because by that time there are people coming the other direction.
Yeah.
So his point is we're so accustomed to going through red lights that if you put in these speed cameras on the red lights, everybody will stop at yellow lights and there'll be a bunch of rear-end collisions
That's what
because
he
no
says,
one
exactly.
expects anybody to stop at the yellow light.
This is in a 20. He may have changed his position. I don't know. This is a 2024 Globe story. But by the way, he does support, at least at that time, license plate reading cameras on public transit. You know why? To curb illegal parking in bus lanes.
I never park
Marjorie.
in the bus lane, Jim.
Okay.
I never park in the bus lane.
Now, let me just say, can I speak?
This popover lady. Did you see this? They interviewed this popover lady.
No.
She's not at the Boston Public
What is
Market.
a popover lady?
I don't know. She works at the popover
She makes
store.
popovers?
I guess so. Naomi something or other at the popover lady.
Okay.
And she talked about 30 minutes in this spot down by Congress and Sudbury Street. That's downtown, of course. 20 motorists in 30 minutes raced through the red light with just no sign of stopping or enforcement or anything else. And by the way,
that doesn't. Let me be clear. They may not be speeding. This may not be covered. Running a red light is not covered.
It should be.
But it isn't.
Well, I'm saying if you ask me what I think we should do.
Oh, okay. We should cover red lights.
Yeah.
We should cover bikes running through red lights too.
Who's
That
going to
drives me
say
nuts.
you shouldn't have these things at
Well, I used to
school
say that, but I
zones
would say the genie the genie is out of the
work sites.
bag, and since the genie is out of the bag, and there's so many cameras anyway, they got to be regulated well. And you know what? This whole issue. Can you answer a question for me? I understand that there are racial disparities. This is proven in Massachusetts in terms of traffic stops, and some civil rights organizations in these Globe stories raise those concerns. But wouldn't cameras be less likely to be racially discriminatory than a human being?
Yes, and they're
it would
cheaper.
seem to me
They're much cheaper.
what this story also says, the legislation proposed by the governor requires some annual reporting. It doesn't require annual reporting being broken down by race. That should be included to find out if there's a racial problem. So we want to know, do you support what are they called? Speed cameras.
Speed cameras.
Speed cameras kind of thing. And like roughly half the other states in the country
Did you know
already
this?
have.
We have 3,500 serious crashes every year, or at least between 2021 and 2024 in Boston.
I didn't know.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot of crashes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anonymous texter says, Marjorie is fine with whatever laws she breaks, but justice must be brought to all others.
Well, that's sort
I guess
of how
that's
I
more
am,
or less where I am. And John from Westbury says it's a slippery slope. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. No, no, no.
Well, John and we generally don't agree, but on this, that's been my historical position. But in light of the fact this is the cat's out of the bag, or the genie out of the bottle, or whatever the hell it is, since there are so many cameras, rather than fighting a losing fight, Carol Rose from the Civil Liberties Union may not like this position. Let's make sure they're regulated in a way that our privacy. Oh, by the way, there's another provision in this law where X number of hours after adjudication, if there's a dispute, they have to erase the tape. Now, the question is, will they really erase the tape? That's a concern, too. So if it was written tightly, Marjorie's smiling, so something's come up. If it was written tightly and there was some enforcement oversight mechanism, I'd at least be open to this. Let's put it that way. 877-301-8970. Brian in Northborough, you're first. Hey.
Hello, Jim, Marjorie.
Hello to you then.
I was really excited when I saw you were going to be talking about this because I've been doing a lot of traveling down into the Providence, Rhode Island area.
Yeah.
And they have had speed cameras in school zones for a number of years.
Oh, I didn't
now.
know that. Okay.
And they have a lot of signage, too. It's not like, whoops, I went by the school and I didn't notice. They have a sign saying, it's coming up. And you can see the cameras.
Oh, that's important. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Keep going, Brian. I hadn't thought of that. Go ahead.
And so then and right now I find it very easy because I have cruise control on my car. We'll lock down to 20 miles an hour. So I just kick it to 20 and put past the school. And then it says end of school zone, and then off I go. And it's worked fine. I have not gotten any tickets from Rhode Island, and they have cameras that look at your license plate only.
Well, I'm. Oh, by the way, you made it. That was an excellent call, Brian. Thank you for the call, and thanks for the Rhode Island experience. I forgot to say another thing. The cameras can only take a photograph from behind, meaning so the photograph that is taken will not include your face, which also is a bit of a privacy protecting kind of thing. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't we have school zones here, though, right?
What do you mean? Of course we have school zones, but the issue is not that we have school zones. The issue is should we have speeding cameras in the school zones?
Yeah, 20 miles per hour in a school zone. Joe in the North End says he walks 3 to 5 miles a day downtown, has never seen a motorist ticketed for running a red light, and he's been doing it for 5 years. It's a disgrace.
Now, we should be clear about this. This is about speeding. I'll say it one more time. If you want to include red lights, or which Marjorie apparently does, including bikes, by the way, cars and bikes running red lights, then you'd have to call your legislator to amend this thing.
Remember when we used to have to go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning when we did morning
You and me,
radio?
yeah.
So I used to drive, and it was amazing how fast you could get to work at 3 o'clock in the morning. But there would be a red light right in front of police headquarters in Roxbury, right by your Northeastern there. What street is that? That's not Columbus Avenue, is it? Maybe it's Columbus Avenue. Anyway, where his police headquarters are. And there was a red light there. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
You mean Ruggles or?
Yeah, right by the Ruggles station where the police headquarters is. Boston Police Headquarters.
Huntington? Whatever it is.
I don't know.
Whatever it is.
Anyway,
Doesn't matter. Why am I
Tremont
even
Street,
trying?
maybe. Maybe it's
Whatever.
Tremont
Let's
Street.
stop with this.
Anyway, in any case, you'd be sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And you say to yourself.
And there's no one behind you, and there's no one. I must admit, I ran that red light many times on the way to work. And actually, one time, a Boston police officer pulled me over for running the red light.
It's a great story.
And I did say, it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
What'd he say, or
nobody's
she say?
here.
What'd they
He
say?
said, get out of here.
Wow.
And let me go.
Obviously, they didn't like me and they liked you. So let me just say this. You know what they have in New York City, which has nothing to do with this, we have to talk to Mayor Wu, which I can't believe they don't have here, maybe because the streets are so narrow and small. Do you know that off hours in New York City, you could drive from like Harlem down to the West Village without ever stopping? They have all the lights timed like that.
Yeah.
We don't have that here
We don't
either.
have that either.
Right,
They
exactly.
used to have
Which
them
is one of the
timed.
reasons you have to speed here. You don't have to speed. Why people do speed here, because they're afraid to miss the next light. There, if you go like whatever it is, 25 miles an hour, you'll be
I
fine
think
the whole way downtown.
reason we don't do that is so people can't go fast. They used to have them timed.
You don't have
in
to go
Commonwealth.
that fast if they're timed.
Well, but I think that's the thinking, that people were racing down streets like Commonwealth Avenue.
Like you.
Not me.
Would you agree, for what it's worth, because Marjorie always, I don't want to say lies, misrepresents her behavior. She always, since she said on the air 1,000 times, I drive like a grandparent.
You do.
Okay,
Nobody
so
wants
obviously
to go 55 miles an hour, Jim.
So you're
on the
admitting
Mass
that
Pike.
you're a speeder.
Yes, and if I like everybody else,
You're
I'm
gonna
with
get tickets.
I'm with the flow of traffic. No, you have to be. That's one of the
11
things that
miles
they
over
say.
or something?
11 miles over in a work zone, 6 miles over in a school zone, and I would say on the turnpike, you have to be 20 miles over before they give you a
Okay,
ticket.
that's great, Marjorie. Chris in Cambridge, what's your position on this? Hello.
Hey there. I'm really supportive of this. I think 11 miles an hour over the speed limit is crazy. I mean, if you think about how fast you can go on a Cambridge or a Boston street reasonably and actually see what's going on, it's really not that fast. And so it's going to get people who are going 36 miles an hour or 41 miles an hour on a little, old street from the 1600s. And it's been proven out, everywhere that in New York City where it works, people get one ticket, they realize, and then they stop it and they fix it. So I think it's a really good idea. And I think what they've done for the privacy protections where you can't keep the information past the ticketing makes a lot of sense. The camera taking the picture from behind the car. So it's really about the car, not about the person. It all sounds really good to me. So I'm really supportive.
Let me just correct one
What?
thing, because I think I misspoke. The erasure, that word, of the video allegedly wouldn't be right after the ticketing. It'd be after an adjudication, meaning if you challenge the thing, which I assume a lot of people would be, but other than that, you nailed it. And that's sort of where... Now, Chris, before, wait, I have one
question.
more. Okay, you go first.
How about 11 miles on the turnpike? So as long as you were going below 66, you'd be okay.
So I think this is really about municipalities. It's not for state roads specifically.
Okay.
Like the one that we're talking about now is for school,
You're right.
and construction zones.
You're right.
But I think in this case, the idea of letting cities do this, I think this is really, the chronic thing that we talk about on the show. Why doesn't the State House let us do X in Cambridge? I think it's a pretty reasonable question.
By the
Chris,
way,
not only was it an excellent call at the beginning, it was even better when you totally dismissed Marjorie's concern like you just did. Made us really happy here in the studio. Thank you for your call. That was an excellent call.
And Chris also brought the legislature, and no surprise, there have been many bills about this in the legislature. And you know where they've gotten, Jim?
Where?
Nowhere.
Well, you know why?
Because the legislature doesn't really pass any bills.
Why else?
because the governor hasn't gotten
Because they have
behind it?
5-month vacation.
Oh, 5 months vacation.
Every other. By the way, this is the year, the election year is when they have 5-month vacation. So they'll be going home in like a week. Now, Bob, I originally said, and I apologize for that, I said something like the cat is out of the bottle. And Bob made a good point. Cats are in bags. This is Bob in Providence. Genies are in bottles. Who knows why, but just saying. That's a very good point.
I would say something like that.
I
I'm
misrepresented.
glad you did it, Jim.
It was not a cat in the bottle.
877-301-8970. Emily in the car. She's at the scene of the crime.
By the way, if a cat was in the bottle, never get out. I mean, unless it was a huge neck in the bottle.
Just smash the bottle.
Go ahead, Emily. What's up?
Hey, Al. How are you today?
Excellent.
Fine,
thank you.
So, Jim, I just want to start, Jim. You and I have had this conversation before.
We have?
I happen to be married to a police officer. It is illegal to drive in the left-hand lane on a highway if you are not passing the cars
Correct.
on your right.
Emily,
singing
wait, stop
my
right there.
song.
I'm not going to hang up. Emily, you're saying that because
Yes.
Marjorie has said, I do it. I have never done it in my life. Marjorie is making this up.
She's doing a public service. People drive in the left lane and they're not passing and they
Yeah,
cause
but I
accidents.
don't do it.
Jim,
And Emily was
causes
directing at me
accidents
'cause of you.
By driving 55 miles per hour. Nobody's driving 55 miles
Emily,
an hour.
continue.
Except you and Michael Dukakis.
Go ahead, Emily.
Oh,
Listen to
dear. So the city of Providence uses speed cameras in school zones, and they are serious about it. I am a salesperson. I drive all over New England for my job.
Yeah.
And I have gotten got by the city of Providence. Now, of course, when it first happened, I was like, are you kidding me? Outrage, anarchy, etc. And then, you know, I looked at the information. They got me fair and square. And what I will say is that in a 20-mile-per-hour school zone, I was going 26, and they still ticketed me. So I am in full support of this. I've lived in Somerville. I grew up in Somerville. I have worked in Cambridge. I've worked in Boston. I have driven all of these streets and side roads. And I think Chris in Cambridge actually, you know, made a really good point that, you know, this isn't a big statewide thing. I think we have to look at the municipalities. But what the city of Providence is doing, you know, something that this might be controversial to some listeners, it is not our right to operate a vehicle in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Wow, you're really
We have
something.
more rights to own guns than we do to operate a vehicle. So if you're going to go out and pretend like this is your road, you can do whatever you want, pump the brakes, pun intended.
Hey, Emily, that was incredible.
because-
Emily, before you go away, when you're stopped, why don't you tell the officer who's stopping you that your husband's a cop?
Well,
She's a good
you know,
person. That's
he
why.
may or may not have stapled his business card to my registration, but you know, love is a funny thing. Love is a
Emily,
funny
you're
thing.
great.
But
Call
I
us
am in
again.
full
Go
support
ahead.
of this,
It's pretty
and
clear.
I absolutely will. Have a great day. Thanks
That was
so much.
excellent. Thank you, Emily. Really appreciate the call. 877-301-8970 is the number there.
Yeah, you know, one of the things they point out, too, is that we've had a lot of fatal crashes involving pedestrians and bicyclists. And we had someone, a disabled person, blind person, who said that they've been hit several times by somebody running through a red light.
Yeah, but again, so that should be the amendment. When the governor shows up here, you should propose to her, I'm serious, that she amend her proposal to expand not just to speeding, but to red light violations, you know?
Well, don't you think?
I'm with you on that. Again, I am
Except for right turn on red.
anti-camera forever, but
we have a right turn on red over here on
We
the
do?
street next to the station. It is
do?
the most ridiculous thing. There's no street on the left. It's like a one-lane thing.
wait, so what's your position? I mean, I thought you wanted to stop people that go through that illegally.
But I don't want these ridiculous.
Well, it's
no
federal
right
law, you know,
turn
but
on
it's
reds.
federal law. I think I'm 90% sure it's federal law.
Well, there must.
The no red on red.
Yes, but there's discretion, obviously, because some places have it and some places don't. Right?
I don't think
So
that's.
who's
I don't
deciding?
think there is
You think
discretion.
The feds are
Could
coming
someone
in
look up
and deciding?
where it is required that you have a right on red thing? I think it was actually. You know what I think it was,
do you
which
think,
Trump
Jim?
will get rid of. I think it was an environmental thing. Actually, I think it was because if you didn't have a
Wasting
right on
gas.
red, you'd be wasting gas while you're idling. But obviously, Trump is pro wasting gas. so that. That'll be changed relatively
Yeah,
soon.
clean coal. He wants more clean coal.
Why can't he say clean?
Clean.
Why does he say clean?
Why does he say China instead of China?
He doesn't say China anymore. He doesn't say huge anymore either. He doesn't say China. He doesn't. He doesn't. He did say the other day that he was this though. That he did say. Let's go to Justin and Newton. You're on the show thing here. Hi. Hello, Justin.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Hi.
Of course.
Hi. And I only support this if Jim gets the star. Now, in Court in Providence was Judge Caprio, was a wonderful TV show. And the best way to honor Judge Caprio is to have Jim Browdy be the judge once a week.
I'd do that. Was Caprio the guy who just died, who was the kindest judge
he was
like ever? Yeah, I just read about him. He sounded fabulous.
Judge Jimbo.
I'd be willing to do that. Judge Jimbo.
I think this is your chance to outside Marjorie, because right now she's the star.
Well, you were doing great until
you.
a couple of seconds ago, Justin. You totally blew your cover there. Justin, thank you very much for your call.
I'm excited about that.
You're listening to Boston Public Radio on NEPM and GBH.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference. Please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
Number again, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. This is very exciting today, Jim. We have a new gift for people who donate $10 a month, and you can get what they are today until 1 o'clock, 89.7 GBH hand warmers as a thank you gift to us. I've seen them. They're like, you fit.
I tried them out in the hall. You were with me the other day. They're
nice,
fabulous.
They're nice and warm. They have the logo on it. You can put them inside your gloves or your mittens if you're going for a walk or if you're taking the dog for a walk. Or, the Patriots season is over now. But you know, you go to Gillette Stadium, well, I haven't been in years, but every time I went, I was freezing to death. This you could have for your hands and be nice and warm. Plus, it can be used as a power pack to charge your phone. So that's
incredible.
Yeah, isn't that neat?
That's
so
great.
The deadline is 1 o'clock today. That means you'd only get them during our show, which is 11 to 1 now. After that, they're going to cost you a lot more, $240 instead of $10 a month or $120 if you get them during our show. And we want people to call up. That's during our show, 11 to 1, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
And Marjorie didn't want to say this, but not only can you warm your hands, you can put them in your pants. Put them wherever you want. Whatever needs, I'm serious,
right.
Whatever needs warming.
It's really
cold out.
You could take them out, put them down, put them in your shoes.
Put them anywhere. I don't think you can put them in your shoes. It's like it's
temporarily.
Temporarily. Now, let me say, again, we never do this except during a pledge. Mary in Plymouth contributes and writes, thank you, Margie and Jim, for all they do, meaning us, along with all the crew members. Thanks for saying that, Mary. Sean and Beverly. Watch or listen daily. Really appreciate Margie, Jim, and their weekly guests and the fantastic musical acts. Thanks for all you do to help keep me semi-sane in these very challenging times. Thanks for your contributions, you guys, and thanks for your incredibly nice notes.
How about Diane from Swansea?
What'd she say?
Public media stations are essential to a functioning democracy. Thank you, Diane. I think you're absolutely right.
How come you didn't read what she goes on to say? I also, in particular, love listening to Jim and Marjorie, who continue to educate as well as entertain. By the way, she meant to say, I educate, and you... attempt to educate. I don't mean that unkindly, but that is. Don't you think that's what she was trying to say?
I'm the sidekick, Jim.
No, I would never say that.
You would never say that.
No.
At least not on the air.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say it anywhere. Actually, it's sort of a theme. It's sort of. It's not exactly, but it's. Our number is 888-897-9424 for gbhnews.org. This fabulous. We finally have a new gift, $10 a month. This fabulous 89.7 GBH hand warmer. Go get it.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, writer Christopher Castellani. His new novel, Last Scene, opens with the disappearance of 4 young men. We then meet them in the afterlife, comparing notes on the lives they left behind. Castellani joins us to talk about writing in 4 voices, why he was drawn to tell a story from the beyond, and what his characters reveal about lives lived for however much time we have. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Mass General Brigham Health Plan, providing helpful digital tools,
world-class providers, and coverage that help you live in the moment. More at massgeneralbrighamhealthplan.org. And Vivo Performing Arts Jazz Festival returns to Aero Street Arts March 5th through 8th with performances by Miguel Zenon Quartet, Isaiah Collier, Chris Davis Trio, and Sullivan Fortner Trio. VivoPerformingArts.org.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. As you know, no library shows until March 3rd, but we're on the air every day as always. Ask the Mayor is March 10th at the library. We're still waiting to hear from the governor and the AG about their February appearances. We're joined now on Zoom by Juliette Kayyem, national security expert, former assistant secretary for Homeland Security under President Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and CNN senior national security analyst. Hey, Juliette.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Juliette
my
Kayyem.
home.
Great to talk to you. So give us the latest. What do we think and know about a possible aggression against Iran?
Well, let me just say we don't know specifically, so we're reading the tea leaves. And the first is, of course, where are all our military assets? They are heading towards the Persian Gulf, in and around Iran, as a show of force. That includes not just Navy assets, but Air Force and some believe Army assets. Whatever is happening, if you just look at the mapping, it would be big. In other words, this is not a drive-by. There's been no discussion about what that would look like, what the goal is, what would happen after the fact, let alone any congressional briefings or discussion. But we know that by some reporting that Trump is frustrated. I don't know if you go to war on frustration, but he wants some sort of deal out of the Iranians. What we also know is just some reporting out of the White House that the president is prepared to do this weekend. So that's what we know right now. I've never seen a deployment like this that doesn't result in some sort of military action. We saw the same with Venezuela. You just simply don't launch that much hardware in one place. But this is a lot. I don't have the exact numbers, but if you just sort of are reading military reporters, it's a huge percentage of our Navy and Air Force assets are en route or there.
So staying in that part of the world, I assume you'd agree that today's meeting of the Board of Dictators, the Board of Peace, will obviously have a profound impact on what's going on. By the way, for those who forget this Board of Peace created by Trump, he's chairing the thing. None of our Western allies are on it. The Palestinian, no Palestinian representative. Even the Pope turned it down yesterday. I mean, what do you even say about this? I mean,
and then Jared Kushner is the keynote. This is the best of the best. Yeah. He's going to be giving one of the big speeches. Apparently, he has no. We've been told that he has no public role. He's showing up at the Ukrainian diplomatic discussions, at the Iranian. In fact, they are managing two diplomatic nightmares or discussions between Iran and Ukraine without apparently an entire government behind them. It's just Wickoff and Kushner in rooms. There's no transparency. No one knows. And this Board of Peace, as people remember, is because Trump didn't get the Peace Prize, he's going to put peace in everything that he does. It's an attempt to provide a counter entity to the UN, and all of our allies have said, and the Pope said it as well, the Vatican said it as well, that the UN is the appropriate structure for whatever is going on in terms of what the discussions are. So what you have is a lot of right-wing totalitarian governments that have signed on. But if people see the list, It looks like it's a couple dozen, but almost over half of those are coming as observer status. In other words, they don't want to piss off, they don't want to get Trump angry, but they don't want to be a part of it. So it is an outrage what Trump is doing, and it's gonna, like so many things he does, he's gonna, have a lot of fanfare, and then it's not going to result in much.
The one thing I'm embarrassed I didn't know this because this is fairly important. I didn't know that Kushner was speaking, but at what time, because I don't want to miss this, during the Board of Peace meeting, will they be playing the movie Melania? Do you know what?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what?
I think the question is, what time does Trump take a nap? He has not. He is not. It is. I really cannot believe how much we talk about his emotions. He's freaking president of the United States. You're not allowed to have emotions, but like the idea that we're going to go into war because Trump is frustrated, rather than there's some interest in the United States going to war, is like, that's how far we've come. Like there's no interest anymore. There's just Trump's mood. Mm-hmm. And the Senate just goes along with it. The GOP just goes along with it.
Just another aside, people are diplomats. They study diplomacy. They study international relations. They understand how the world and government works. Our two chief diplomats are people that know nothing about diplomacy.
They know real estate,
Kushner and Witkoff.
Well, they know crypto.
They're very wealthy, and they
have direct access to the president, so that does give them some strength. What they don't have is any sense of what the United States interests are. They just have Trump's interests, right. So they're really performing for one. But I think about this all the time. Like if I ever get insecure or go through my thing, like it's like, God, to have the ego and arrogance of people like Kushner, who think, Kushner has said publicly that he has no interest in learning about the past. Like he feels that he is like some chosen person unmoored from history and reality and politics, who just drifts with his making billions of dollars and then drops in and is going to solve world peace. The proof is in the pudding. He's been doing this for 5 years, and look at the world. I mean, he did it in the first 4 years of the Trump administration.
Well, the Abraham Accords are not nothing, but I would agree his record is not spectacular, right? Why'd you make a face at me?
The Abraham Accords are how would you define the Abraham Accords? I mean, in other words, what was successful about that?
Well, I don't know. What was successful about it?
Nothing.
Okay,
Nothing.
Then fine.
I mean, we're about to go to war with Iran. I mean, that was successful. I mean, if you're talking about avoiding a regional conflict, we're not there yet. So
we had a better deal under Obama's efforts to stop the Iranians or delay the Iranians from getting nuclear weapons. We'd be in a better place.
Which may be the deal he ends up with anyway.
It is exactly. I mean, Jim, you are exact. It is exactly the deal we're going to end up with, and we're going to go through these circles and whatever. But I want to note something. Obviously, it's people. Only look to our side. There is considerable build up by China and Russia to support Iran. Like, this is no joke now. Like, this is the thing that we've all been worried about, and Trump is poking a bear, and we've had no discussion except for what his mood is. Like, if you look, Trump always thinks that we act and everyone has to react. No, we act and they act. And the counter to this is a little bit terrifying right now when you see what China and Russia are doing. And I will say Iran's Khomeini had a tweet yesterday that I have no other way to read it except they have the goods on Trump, and their intelligence agencies do. He basically threatened the president of our country with personal disclosures that would harm the United States.
But they also said they won that thing when Trump bombed the nuclear facility. I mean, they're not exactly credible people. We're talking to Juliette Kayyem. Juliette, just briefly, there's no progress, it appears, at all in this government shutdown thing where the Democrats totally correctly are focusing on things like mandating warrants if you go into somebody's house,
getting rid of
no masks and IDs. There appears to be no progress.
There is some progress, Jim.
What is the progress?
Well, they got rid of somebody. This Patricia
McLaughlin.
Who's been like a
spokesperson.
total disgrace. One of the lawyers for one of the immigrants that was falsely accused said, he had a great quote. He said, unless Pinocchio is applying for her position, her replacement would be a great improvement. And she lied, just so people remember, she lied about Renee Good, called her a domestic terrorist, never apologized.
Who cares what she said, though? Her boss. I mean,
her boss said it.
Her boss is saying it.
I know, but at least she's gone. At least she's gone.
The knives are out. Well, she's gone after steering a no-bid contract to her husband's company for $200 million. But still.
Wait, is that true too?
Yes.
Boy, I'm learning a lot this morning.
Yeah, no.
Jesus.
The money, all the big beautiful bill money that went to ICE didn't all go, or to DHS didn't all go for ICE agents. There's a lot of construction and real estate bids. You follow that money because that's big money. Like hiring an ICE agent is $100,000. The big money is going to construction. Is going to all of
detention centers too.
Noam's cronies and stuff. So her husband received a $200 million no bid contract. I know.
So let's go back to the substance, though, that really matters. And again, the Democrats in this case, I think
they're
really
absolutely
chose the right topics. Yeah. But is there any evidence of progress in these negotiations with oil?
And there won't be. But the Democrats have found the issue. I mean, it's so shocking to me that the issue that let Trump become president, because Biden was one of the issues Biden was so weak on immigration. He's, the floor, to quote a pollster, the floor has dropped on this issue. You've got got MAGA divided over it. You've got the Republican, the right wing, media.
CNN poll yesterday said 65% of America thinks Trump has gone too far on this issue that helped get him elected, as you said. It's amazing.
So the Republicans don't really have a chit here. So I think you're going to see some accommodation by the Republicans, but not anytime soon. Some of that accommodation. So, you get rid of the spokesperson. The whole, what's happening, because I follow this, is you've now got this huge circular firing squad going on at DHS. You've got the Noam, Lewandowski, entities. You've got the Miller, Steve Miller, who's always trying to protect himself. You've got Homan, who is now sort of in charge of CBP. You've got professionals who are throwing the political under the bus. There was a Coast Guard leaked a story yesterday that she had a search and rescue helicopter that was looking for a Coast Guard crew member. She had it diverted for immigration. Fortunately not that, but it's almost as bad on immigration enforcement. So, and they've lost the governor. So I do think the governor's on this because they're seeing the polling. So
let me tell you on a related note, on the way to work this morning, I heard U2's new song, American Obituary, which in great part is about the killing of Renee Good, and people should really check it out. So, Juliette, before you go, we figured you're the perfect person to talk about it. You don't know this, but I resisted Heated Rivalry. I finally watched it over the weekend.
Oh, yeah, what'd you think?
Well, I loved it, but we now have Heated Rivalry, the sequel. This one stars Kid Rock and RFK Jr. Now, have you seen the video of the two?
Of course. Well, I had to. It was like a scary movie that I had to watch it like that.
Could you describe it to people for those who haven't seen the video yet? No one should miss this.
It does come with a warning. It's not PG, it's not R. It's like gag me. There's a gag me warning, which is
it's topless.
Do not let the elderly make their own YouTube videos. So I have long had a theory that one of the problems with the Trump administration is everyone thinks they're better looking than they are, and none of them. You know what I mean? Like they're all like with the facelifts and whatever. It's like you're like the normal world does not find this good looking. So obviously, our Secretary of Health and Human Services does not believe in anything but, personal betterment after, sniffing cocaine on a toilet seat.
Could you believe that one?
By the way, those were his words. Don't send angry email about Juliette.
Why would you ever admit that?
Because he's unstable.
He believes in personal personal growth. So this video is they're doing a workout video, shirts off in blue jeans.
In blue. Well, let's get to that. Actually, by the way, you're listening. We're speaking with the national security expert Juliette Kayyem. We're listening to BPR on NEPM and GBH. Here is Stephen Colbert yesterday addressing the issue that Juliette just addressed: is why is RFK Jr. topless but wearing jeans, not just in the sauna, but when he goes in the ice bath? Here is Colbert.
Working out in tight jeans is not what a sauna is for. I know what you're thinking. It's gotta chafe in all that damp sauna steamed denim. Which is why RFK Jr. walks down the hall to soak those gams in the ice plunge.
Oh my God.
What is the deal with those jeans? Why won't he wear shorts? Is he one of those action figures where his jeans are his legs? They don't come off. You can change the shirt, but you can't change the pants.
By the way, in all seriousness, for a moment of seriousness,
piano legs. There must be something wrong with his legs.
Forget Kid Rock. What is Kennedy? They're filming it obviously intentionally, and the goal was to post it. To what end? What is the point? To show his ass?
Actually, that's right, because he thinks he's hot.
You guys, this is the thing, is that they feed off of this sense that they are incredibly desirable. And that is, look, when you talk about our Secretary, Kennedy, this is a man who had dozens of affairs while he was married. And please, maybe it's over, I don't know. And married one of his mistresses, that actress. And
that actress.
Honestly.
No, you're right, Charles.
Do we have to remember her name?
Yeah,
I can't even watch that show anymore because I just can't watch her because she flipped too. And so I think he wants. Look, these cabinet secretaries want everyone to be looking at them, and it's no different than Secretary Noem of DHS with her costumes.
That's a very good point, actually.
And you have Hegseth, doing the push-ups. Mm-hmm. They everything to them is what's the visual, not what the policy is. And I will say that on this polling thing, in the same way that you're seeing some changes at DHS. I just noted that the White House has sidelined a bunch of Kennedy's people at HHS and are putting in career people around him because they must see the polling on measles.
You should write a piece on this looks thing for the Atlantic. I'm serious.
It's important to say too that they were going to not look at the Moderna advances in the flu vaccine. Now they've flipped on that too, and thank goodness.
People don't forget public pressure works.
Yeah, it does. Juliette, good to see you.
Unpopular this administration.
Be well. Take care.
Bye. Thank you, Juliette. Juliette Kayyem is former Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security under President Barack Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and a CNN senior national security analyst. Juliette, thank you very much. Coming up after this quick break, former Massachusetts Public Safety Secretary Andrea Cabral. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
And what it means to truly become an expert in this stuff.
Everybody thinks they're an expert in sports. It is the hallmark of the sportsman, and it is a great quality. It is something you have to let go of when you start to do research.
That's the Curiosity Desk, today at 1 on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And the Art Complex Museum in Duxbury, Massachusetts, currently displaying the Duxbury Art Association Winter Juried Show, prints by Armin Landek and works by Massachusetts artist Mo Kelman. More at artcomplex.org. And MIT Federal Credit Union. Their mortgages are built around their members with personalized guidance. Memberships open to the public. More at mitfcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA, NMLS number 39923. American Masters explores how Sun Ra bridged musical styles to form his own avant-garde sound and self-produced more than 200 records. Don't miss Sun Ra, Do the Impossible, tomorrow at 9 on GBH2.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. No library shows until we return on March 3rd. Obviously, we'll be on the air every day, but out of Brighton. Mayor joins us on March 10th at the library from noon to 1, and we are still awaiting word from the governor and the attorney general about February. Joined now on Zoom by Andrea Cabral, former Massachusetts Public Safety Secretary, former Sheriff of Suffolk County. Hello there, Andrea.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello, Andrea Cabral. So this is a headline you don't hear every day. The former Prince, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Prince of Great Britain, of course, was arrested this morning on suspicion of committing misconduct in public office. And I guess it's a very serious charge.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that, all of Great Britain is sort of reeling from this. I don't think a member of the royal family has been arrested. I could be wrong, but I don't think a member of the royal family has been arrested probably since Henry VIII started killing his wife, killing his wife.
That's probably true.
Yeah, no, I think it's possible. I mean, I might be wrong. There might have been a stray one here or there, but I don't think so. I think this is pretty much unprecedented in terms of modern times. And what he's charged with is misconduct while in office. It's essentially he's being accused, even though his name has been obviously he had a decades long relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He has been specifically named in court filings and elsewhere by alleged victims as one of the predators. But what he's charged with here is providing Epstein with confidential trade reports because at a certain period in his relationship with Epstein, and while he was Prince, he was a trade representative for the country. And so he's essentially being charged with official misconduct. And people might be saying, well, wouldn't the statute of limitations, this happened in, I think, the mid-90s, or is alleged to have happened in the mid-90s, wouldn't the statute of limitations have run? And I think what officials and investigators are saying is that whatever they suspected, they've only gotten evidence of this in this last cache of documents that's been released, the Epstein files that have been released in this country. So they now have something to continue to investigate and something that provided probable cause to arrest him.
Can I ask either of you or both of you to engage in irresponsible speculation? I'm thinking about this charge, and I don't know enough to know how serious the alleged violation is by sharing this confidential stuff. What was the name of the priest who was tried and then sentenced to like 10 years in jail for putting his hand on the rear end? Gagan. And I think what we said on the radio at the time...
It was in the Spotlight, featured in the Spotlight movie.
Right. We were not alone in this, saying he was prosecuted for, in the grand scheme of things, a relatively minor offense because they couldn't get him on the big ones. And is it irresponsible?
He grabbed the rear end of a kid getting
in
out of a pool.
Right, yeah.
And he was alleged to have raped or sexually assaulted hundreds.
The latter of which he was not prosecuted for. Is it possible, Andrea, you're a former prosecutor, as we all know, is it possible that authorities were frustrated by the fact that they couldn't make a case against him on the sexual violence, the sexual crimes, and decided to get him on what they could? Is that a ridiculous proposition?
No, it's certainly not ridiculous. And whenever I look at cases like, well, actually, when I look at all kinds of cases, but particularly cases like this, I think about sort of the universe of what investigators might be looking at. Now, this is called official misconduct while in office, but, the United States provides confidential, what we would consider to be classified information, I assume trade reports given to an investor that are not available to the public would be something akin to a classified piece of information, maybe not in terms of national security, but certainly in terms of economic security. It may be a very serious charge. And it remains to be seen how many counts of this.
Right, you're right.
What will happen with this? Now, when I say I look at the universe of things, I look at what they may be thinking, and this is the wild speculation you asked me to engage in. What they might be thinking Prince Andrew will tell them in exchange for leniency
that's interesting.
Both in their country and here, and that has got to be much like the fear that probably reverberated around Epstein's circle when he was arrested. What is he going to say to save himself? And I think he's going to find himself in much the same position as Epstein found himself.
Can I also mention something I think you all know, but I think it bears mentioning? In a country where there's virtually no accountability for people in government, the Lutnicks of the world, who have these unsavory ties to Epstein. Just as a couple of examples, the former Norwegian Prime Minister, this guy Jagland, I think, is charged with gross corruption over his ties to Epstein. That Peter Mandelson resigned from the House of Lords earlier this month and membership in the Labour Party because of his links. The French, these financial crime prosecutors opened a probe into the former cultural minister, Jack Lang, and his daughter on suspicion of aggravated tax fraud laundering linked to Epstein, meaning accountability. And there are many other examples. The accountability quotient in Europe is so much higher than the accountability quotient in government in this country. It's really amazing, and the comparison, I think, bears mentioning. It also bears mention, Andrea, Marjorie this morning referred to, I assume borrowing a phrase from Donald Trump about Biden, she referred to Prince Andrew's crime family because apparently his ex-wife, and his two daughters,
Beatrice and Eugenie, or something.
And what did
like
they
that.
allegedly do?
I don't know what they did. They were involved with him in some way or another. I think there's emails back and forth. I think that his former wife had a crush on Epstein. I think that's what it sounds like. She was writing him emails.
Well, did you hear publicly she trashed Epstein, and on the same day she sent him an email saying she really sorry she had to do that, and she did write a very flirty response to him at the same time.
Eugenie and Beatrice are the daughters.
And we should also say his brother, the king, has gone out of his way both before the arrest and subsequent to it, saying there'll be full cooperation and they support whatever investigation happens into his brother.
There's a role here because it started out with him sort of being forced to move from Windsor Castle. He's out at his brother's place in Norfolk. Is losing his title as prince. There's been a slow but steady excision of Prince Andrew from the royal family, and now I think they are at great pains to sort of further distance themselves. Prince Charles issued a statement saying, the investigation should take its course. In other words, he's on his own. We don't really want to have anything to do with him. But let's also keep in mind that it's not even so much that the members of the royal family were never involved historically, just, much like a lot of our elected officials, in criminality or bad conduct. It's just that they weren't accountable. Mm-hmm. That's what you're seeing now is this intersection between sexual criminality and actually the lust for money, because their relationships with Epstein, a lot of them, especially the academics, came from the desire for him to give them research funding, so they were willing to overlook any sexual criminality, even after he was convicted. So you see this sort of an unsavory intersection of things at a point at which people are willing, and in some institutions, not so much in this country, to your point, as elsewhere, are willing to hold people accountable.
So can we go back from the UK to Georgia? I am transfixed by this trial.
I had no idea the extent of the parents' involvement.
Well, I
read these stories.
This is a trial, you'll tell us the details, but just to get it started, of the father of a 14-year-old boy. The 14-year-old boy was a school shooter in 2024 in Appalachia High School, where I think, did he kill 2 teachers and 2 students, I believe?
Yes.
And his father, tell us why and what his father is charged with, Andrea.
The charges are actually sort of voluminous. It's 2 counts. The father's name is Colin Gray. The son is Colt Gray. Mm-hmm. And his son is accused of killing 2 students and 2 teachers, 9 other people. He also wounded 9 other people. But the father faces 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 20 counts of cruelty to children, and 5 counts of reckless conduct. On September 4th of 2024 at Appalachia High School, his son, who had only been enrolled apparently for a few days, I don't know if he had been in school a week, showed up to school with a sort of concealed rifle, and at some point went into the bathroom. He asked to go see a a school counselor. He was given permission to leave class to do that. Instead, he went to the boys' room. And when he came back out, he was wearing yellow work clothes, and he had the gun, and he started shooting. The parents are both being held accountable for providing him with firearms both before and well after they knew that there were real problems with his violent ideation, his desire to shoot up a school specifically. Police had investigated that allegation, and while they couldn't, he denied that he had made a previous threat to shoot up a school. It seems as though the parents seem to be relying on the defense, the father in particular, that because the police couldn't give him a definitive answer as to whether or not his son had made the threat, he didn't think there was anything wrong with then providing him with an AR-15 rifle and continuing to take him out shooting, which to me seems just an implausible defense. The fact that the police can't tell you that they can prove it enough to arrest him doesn't mean that you as a parent don't have an obligation to figure out whether or not your son is the source of the threat.
Well, there's more to it, if I may. Let me play a little sound from the DA, the prosecutor there, Brad Smith, who, in his opening statement, a relevant piece, particularly listen to the last line of what the prosecutor has to say.
This is not a case about holding parents accountable for what their children do. This case is about this defendant and his actions in allowing a child that he has custody over access to a firearm and ammunition after being warned that that child was going to harm others. So that Wednesday morning, September 4th, 2024, those pictures of Nicholas Cruz are still on his wall, and that rifle is still in his room.
Nicholas Cruz, obviously being the mass murderer at Marjorie Stoneham Douglas. We're speaking with former Massachusetts Public Safety Secretary Andrea Cabral. You're listening to BPR and NEPM and GBH.
And this...
Marjorie? Oh.
All the news and conversations that you value here on this station. This is the only way to keep this important news service on the air and free to all. It's with greater support from our listeners. So please give now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Kiki Loa.
12 contributions in the next 5 minutes is what's needed to stay on track right now during Boston Public Radio. Please sign up as a sustaining member or make a one-time gift. GBH's future depends on all of us joining together to keep this trusted source for news and information on the air at a time when we need it most. Again, 12 more people to give in the next 5 minutes. Make your contribution online at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
And we have a very special way of saying thank you here on this second day of our winter membership drive. And there's only about an hour left in this very special offer. It's the GBH 89.7 hand warmers. Yours for a contribution of just $10 per month as a sustaining member, or a one-time gift of $120 all at once. Now, that is a special offer only until 1 o'clock today. That's just under an hour away. After that, you'd have to give $240 to get these. They're rechargeable and reusable hand warmers. They've got a sleek design. They're perfect for travel of any kind. You can check out what they look like when you give online at gbhnews.org. Again, that's $10 per month, or a one-time gift of $120 all at once. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
GBH is listener supported. That means we're here because you want us here. This membership drive is an important reminder to do your part and make a contribution to the radio you not only listen to, but the radio that you believe in and trust. So make your contribution right now, gbhnews.org, or by giving us a call. It's easy to do, and you can tell us why you're supporting. 888-897-9424.
888-897-9424. And we are counting down a goal here. We've got just about 2 minutes left to go in this goal. We are down to just 7 more people we're looking to hear from. 7 more people to go in the next 2 minutes. We can do it, but we need to hear from you. If you have yet to support your listening, now is the perfect time to do so. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
GBH is a non-profit public radio station. You can tell because of the high quality of what you hear each and every day. You can also tell because of the stories and perspectives about our region and the world. You can also tell because you're listening to a membership drive. We ask you to directly support GBH that makes such a difference in your life. Every single contribution makes a difference, so make yours right now. gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
888-897-9424 is that number to call. I want to say a quick thank you to a few folks who have taken advantage of the special offer and also are making their gifts of support right now. We heard from Patricia in Arlington. Thank you for your contribution. We also heard from Betsy in Jamestown, Rhode Island. She says she's so proud of the station and we are the people who she's supporting here. Thank you so much, Betsy. Also to Kathy in Brockton, one of our newest members. You can join them, 888-897-9424 or make your gift online at gbhnews.org.
And giving takes just 2 minutes of your time. We need your name and your contact information, which we promise we will keep private. You can sign up as a sustaining member with a recurring monthly payment from your bank account or credit card. You can also make a one-time gift as well. Either way, it's easy to do online at gbhnews.org or by calling us at 888-897-9424.
888-897-9424. And remember to ask for the GBH 89.7 hand warmers as our thanks for that contribution of just $10 per month as a sustaining member or a one-time gift of $120 all at once. Again, this is a special offer. After 1 o'clock this afternoon, you'd have to give $240 to get this pair of hand warmers. But right now, only for just under the next hour, you can ask for them for just $10 per month. We want to send these your way as our thanks. 888-897-9424 or make that gift online at gbhnews.org.
GBH News is your home for trusted local news. Get it at 89.7 on the radio, gbhnews.org, and subscribe to the GBH News YouTube channel. GBH News, what matters to you.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Museum of Science, featuring exhibits for all ages, from indoor lightning storms to live animals to modern robotics and hands-on design challenges. More at MOS.org. And Rockland Trust Bank, committed to helping individuals and local businesses work towards their financial goals by providing financial advice and resources. More at rocklandtrust.com. Rockland Trust Bank, where each relationship matters. Member FDIC.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News, what matters to you?
Here's Jim Brady. I am Marjorie Egan. Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We are not going to be at the Boston Public Library tomorrow. We've got some equipment upgrades needed, but we'll be back at the library on March 3rd. And on March 10th, we'll be joined by the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu. She'll be at the library with us from noon to 1.
And as I've said, we're waiting to hear February dates, we hope, with a few days left in the month for the governor and the attorney general to join us. Dr. Federico Rossano is associate professor of cognitive science at UC San Diego and scientific lead of the world's largest button-pressing pet study. He has been studying how dogs and their humans communicate for years. He joins us now to discuss his research, highlighted in Nova's latest fabulous film, Can Dogs Talk? In this clip from the film, one woman describes how her dog used buttons to tell her owner she's not feeling particularly well.
One time when I was kind of just out for maybe an hour or so, she pressed potty. Potty. And then on the video, you can see that she throws up. And then she goes and presses help. Help.
It's unbelievable. Federico will be at GBH. It really is unbelievable. Federico, he'll temper this conversation. We're not scientists. He'll be at GBH tonight. He's in our studio right now for a special event, screening clips from this great film and talking about all this incredible research. You go to gbh.org/events for more info. But before the event, Federico, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
So how did this all start with the dogs and the buttons?
It was almost an accident. So I was just taking care of my child, and I got a text from an alumni of my department saying, "Hey, have you seen these dogs on TikTok?" And he starts sending me some clips. I'm not on TikTok, by the way. I'm not on social media. And I looked at it, and I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What do you think?" I was like, "Well, interesting." And he's like, "So I'm starting this company, and I think there's a bunch of people that would be interested in learning more about this." This was the beginning of COVID. And the fact that I had just become a parent had a huge impact in that decision. And I was like, well, if we're going to do it, then it needs to be citizen science, because obviously we can't travel, we can't go everywhere, at least in the beginning. And I'm not going to do it with one dog or 5 dogs or 10 dogs. It needs to be hundreds of dogs. Little did I know there ended up being many thousands of dogs from 47 countries. So it's an amazing study. And honestly, it always amazes me how many people are willing to share with scientists sort of what's going on with their dogs.
I also love your aside in the film. When you start getting these contacts from people, you muse that this could be a career ender if you get involved in this thing.
Yeah, it's like the movies, the talking dog in the movies.
So can we give us some of these examples are just, they're eye-opening to say the least. The first dog that is focused upon is Stella, I believe. Tell us a little bit about what Stella did that began this process.
Yeah, so Christina Hunger is a speech-language pathologist, and
the owner of Stella.
The owner of Stella. And what she did was she tried to use with Stella the same devices she was using with the kids that she was working with. And it took a while, a few weeks, but Stella started pushing some of these buttons. Started with outside, and I think it was play or treats, and then she posted on it on social media. This thing picked up, and other people saw it, and they were like, "Well, I can buy these devices on Amazon, and I can just try myself." And others started doing it and made some progress, and so there was kind of like this thing was happening without necessarily anybody checking on like what is going on. Now, on my end, there was a long history of what is called animal language studies, where people had tried to train primates, great apes especially, with symbols and buttons and so on, lexigrams, touch screens, and that's why some colleagues were like, "Don't do it. Just don't do it. Just stay away from it."
Can we be clear here, by the way, which I should have said at the top? This is not about whether your dog understands you and can follow direction. That's established. You're nodding in agreement.
Sit, roll over,
The
lie
issue
down.
is, can your dog intentionally, I think is the key word, Federico, communicate a thought or a desire to you? Am I phrasing this properly?
You are phrasing it properly. There is no doubt that dogs understand you. Actually, there's a long list of studies that have shown that they understand hundreds of words. They definitely recognize your gestures, your facial expressions. They pay attention to human communication. So dogs get it. They understand you. The question is, can you then understand what they are trying to communicate, and can they find a way to tell you?
Okay, describe these buttons. They don't have pictures on them.
Some of them do. It really depends on what the owners decide to do. So
tell us about the buttons, how they're arranged on the floor.
Yes, so there's many different ways. Actually, some people have it on the wall. So there's these devices are basically like little buttons, maybe the size of half of your hand. And when you press it, you can record a word, for example, like treat or outside. Okay. And when the dog pushes it, then you hear the word. Or if the human pushes it, then you hear the word. And they can be positioned in many different ways. Some people just line them up so they remember it. They might have different colors. They might put stickers on them, words on them for them to remember it. Some people put it on the wall because some dogs actually use their nose to push it. Not everybody uses their paw.
So the dogs are understanding where the button that indicates outside or play or whatever is located.
So the dog will associate the location of the button and the sound that they hear when they press it with some kind of outcome.
Okay, so tell us about this dog that was pressing the button, saying it was mad, ouch, stranger. Tell us that story.
Yes.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's a fantastic instance of something I've seen actually many times. Like, one of the things that amazed me about what we're seeing is that many of these dogs seem to be able to communicate about being in pain. And if we can actually prove it, that would be revolutionary. So one of that specific example was a dog named Bunny, and just starts communicating, pushing the button, saying that it's mad. And the owner is like, why are you mad? And it's like, stranger. And it's like, what do you mean, stranger? Like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And then it says, stranger paw. And so communicates which body part is somehow affecting her. And the owner looks at it and finds a foxtail in the paw of this dog. And similarly, I've seen dogs pushing the buttons.
Which hurt the dog.
Which hurts a lot,
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen dogs pushing the buttons belly ouch and then 10 minutes later vomiting, or ear ouch and they have an ear infection. And so again, you can imagine, like, if you could get to a point where they could tell you that they're not feeling well, or that they're sick, how amazing would that be? And of course, one of the things about dogs is that they're very good at hiding it. You might realize that they're a little sluggish, a little slow, but they are not. They're not boasting being upset. They tend to be pretty chilled.
Yeah.
We're talking to Federico Rossano, and I should say, if you're as fascinated by this as we are, you can catch him in clips from the film tonight at gbh.org/events, or go to pbs.org/Nova to watch the full episode, Can Dogs Talk? We're going to go into a lot more examples after we take a break in a second, but before we do, the film, and I assume you had something to do with this, the Nova people go out of their way through the narrator. Every time Marjorie or I are watching and say, oh my God, this proves it, they say, well, it's impossible to know for sure. I assume that's the cautious scientist in you. But there were a ton of examples that even, I assume, caused you to say, this seems to be the real deal, no?
Absolutely. So the science proceeds through skepticism. Right?
Understood.
Like, our goal is to sort of prove it against uncontrovertible evidence that this is the case. And so, we don't. If you start saying dogs can talk, now it's a humongous change in our understanding of animal minds, right? So before you can make that case, then you need to build your case slowly. And the way I talk about it is like, I need to proceed through traffic lights. And so as long as I keep getting green lights, then I keep going.
Now, do you know, before we take a break, do you know what the first non-human animal whichever spoke to humans was? Do you know? You're young, so you don't know. Mr. Ed. Do you know who Mr. Ed was? Mr. Ed was a horse on television who used to say to his owner, Wilbur, open the door. Now, I don't know if that was real. Well, whatever. Okay, we got to take a break.
Okay. After that wonderful imitation of Jim, of Mr. Ed.
It was a good imitation.
It was
Wilbur,
excellent. It was
open the door.
It was really good. We're going to keep talking about dogs with Dr. Federico Rossano. Up next, you're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH.
We're doing a pleasure.
When something happens in the news, you want to hear about it from people you trust. Jim and Marjorie have been trusted news voices in New England for years, and for over a decade, they've been right here on GBH every weekday at 11 a.m. So whatever happens out there, at the courthouse, the state house, or your hometown, you can trust Jim and Marjorie to unpack it, talk it over, and bring in an expert or two to tell you more, all without commercial interruptions, thanks to your support. So help keep the conversation going. Pitch in now by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, the number again is 888-894-9424.
No, it's not.
888-897.
897, that's
9424.
That's correct.
888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Did you hear? We're trusted news sources, Jim.
We are?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
That's
don't
very
know about
nice.
that. But
People would say that. And I like to think we are trusted news sources because there's a lot of untrustworthy news sources out there. So this is a better choice. I'm biased a little bit. But anyway, if you have been hesitating, we only do this a few times a year because we are more dependent than ever on the generosity of people that are listening. And a few times a year when we do do these pledge breaks, we often provide with little gifts. And our gift today is this GBH hand warmer. It's a small thing, fit in the palm of your hand, and it warms your hand.
That's why it's called a hand warmer.
That's why it's called a hand warmer. But I want to tell people it is a sleek design.
It is sleek.
Black with station logo in white. We are offering that only till 1 o'clock today, less than 40 minutes, or just about 40 minutes, for $10 a month or $120.
There are a couple of people who've made donations who had beautiful things to say. Here's Lori from Rhode Island. I just donated. No hand warmers for me. Ready for this? Jim and Marjorie are all the gift I need. Are you kidding me? Here's another one. Without a name. I started listening to your show once I canceled live TV after the 2024 election. In my opinion, all live news was officially unreliable at that point. I feel like I'm living in Orwell's 1984. I am so grateful to have found Jim and Marjorie. You make me feel a little less crazy. Even better, you make me laugh. Thank you so much for being there. The bottom line...
You didn't read Alex from Wareham.
What did Alex from Wareham say?
Alex from Wareham said, are you going to be giving away smug mugs during this pledge drive?
No, we're not.
We're hoping eventually we'll get them back. I know people really like them.
Yeah, but not this pledge drive. Let me just say this. One of the things a lot of people are saying, and it's really important, that the people who work on the station, our colleagues, are so talented. On air, people behind the scenes. That's who you're supporting with your contribution.
We get a lot of pledges, statements about that.
I know, and in light of the
stuff.
fact that all the federal money is gone once Trump decided to defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, here's your opportunity to, what is the expression, belly up to the bar. The number is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. If you can't afford the hand warmer or don't give a damn about the hand warmer, give whatever you can. Give it one time, give it recurring, the sustaining membership thing, whatever you can do to support the work of our colleagues, please do it.
888-897-9424 is the number. gbhnews.org is the website where you can give securely. We only do this a couple of times a year. The hand warmers are only available till 1 o'clock, and we really appreciate it if we do well between 11 and 1.
Why is that, Marjorie, exactly?
Because I like to get credit for raising more money.
It's not a credit
colleagues.
thing. It's you want to get it anyway.
I want the gold star.
Okay, fine. What's the phone number?
888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR on 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy. We're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're continuing our conversation with Federico Rossano, who's Associate Professor of Cognitive Science at UC San Diego, and he and his colleagues are responsible for the research that became this brilliant Nova film, Can Dogs Talk?
Okay, so you were trying to tell me something during the break, and I couldn't hear you. What did you want to say?
What I wanted to say is that sometimes you do research and you start with a question. The first question was like, well, can they put together a couple of buttons in a way that seems like they're producing a sentence? So I came at it with an interest in language. And the more I'm engaged in this study, the more I look at the data, the more I'm realizing things about dogs that I didn't necessarily appreciate as a scientist. And one of the things that I would like people to realize is when we read a lot of news about dogs being really smart, we think about these dogs that know a lot of words, or dogs that know a lot of names of objects, for example. But one of the things that became more and more apparent in the data I'm looking at is the fact that dogs are social animals, and they think about the pack, and the pack is the people they live with and the other pets they live with. And you see this because when people are gone, they keep pushing buttons with the name of the one that is missing.
Oh, gosh.
And the same when a pet is gone, is not in the house. And this is true of other animals, that when they're lost, they make a call and they ask for like where the others are. It's like, I'm here, where are you? It's like, where is this other individual? Wolves do that. Baboons do that. So there's a lot of this aspect of sociality, of like how much they actually care about who they're with, is something that sometimes we underestimate and don't necessarily appreciate. That's why they want to communicate with you. That's why they use the button.
So we should never leave the dog alone then. We can't leave the dog alone for 5 minutes.
Federico, there are a couple of examples that you cited some, but a couple of additional ones in the film that were the most convincing to me as a layperson, not a scientist. You did one of those word cloud things. It was your research, right?
Yes,
the word cloud thing, where, of the scores of buttons, some of these people have buttons as many as 50 plus buttons. You decided, you looked at how many times each request or whatever button was pushed. And the most common ones were food, outside, and play, which are obviously the things that we all know dogs are interested in the most, which to me is a huge statement about their understanding about what they're communicating, no?
Absolutely. So that was our way of showing if this was completely random, if all they were doing was touching the button so that the human would come and pay attention, then there should be,
equal distribution among all
there
things.
There should be no difference. But when you look at what they're really interested in, this is exactly what they do. It's like outside, play, water, treat. And again,
those are the same buttons I push, by the way. I want you to know if I was pushing buttons.
Can I tell you a funny thing? We're doing the same study with cats. Do you want to know what is one of the top 5 words that cat says? No.
No. Well, this guy just
fabulous.
checked it. He said, my cat, on the other hand, is waiting for me to die so he can eat me, and I don't begrudge him that. But, what about the one where the beach, the owner took the dog to the beach lot, but the beach button was missing or
Water
broken
outside,
or something?
yes.
So what did the dog do about the broken beach button?
So this is another fascinating case where we obviously need to do more research, but this phenomenon is called productivity. So one of the things that we do as humans is when we don't have a word for it, we might try to put together other words to kind of convey that concept. Like it's like, that thing where there's sand and there's water and where you go with your family and it could be like, oh, you mean beach? Yes, that's what I mean. And so one of the things that can happen is that sometimes some buttons don't work. And if the button doesn't work, you see the dogs pushing other combinations. The other thing that can happen is if they don't have a word for it, but they're really interested in something, they seem to be doing the same. So to give you an example, there was one dog that kept pushing waterborne, and people were like, what is this? And then they realized it was asking for ice. They give the button ice.
Oh my God.
It doesn't push waterborne anymore. Another dog, for example, sees an ambulance outside, is fascinated by it, and then goes to the soundboard and pushes squeaker car and looks at the owner and is like, what is this? Of course, how do you define an ambulance? It's a car that makes a lot of noise. And it's like,
wild?
So we have a lot of these instances where you're like, is this possible? Now, of course, as Jim was saying, it's like, well, is this enough? It's not enough. We need to kind of get more evidence because if you think about it, this is anecdotes, right? And so you don't know how many times we are lucky and how many times we actually want more scientific evidence that this is consistent, that they can actually do it reliably.
When you read about the brains of dogs, lots of times border collies, poodle mixes, there was a poodle mix, border collies, Australian shepherds, there's a difference in brain power among dogs. It is true.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. What there is a difference is there's a difference in terms of motivation to engage and the kind of activities they like to engage in. So, for example, border collies are notoriously herders, so that you kind of go and retrieve the sheep and bring them back. So if you're doing a test that, for example, requires you to go fetch a toy and bring it back, now you're going to be very interested in this. That's why border collies are the best at this kind of naming of toy task, because they're smart, but they also very much engaged with that specific task.
Okay.
In our study, for example, you have a lot of poodles, a lot of terriers that are very good actually in using the buttons. And you might think now about what are these animals really interested in? And of course, if you have a dog that is standing outside to chase away intruders, probably they're not going to want to have much of a conversation with you. But the ones who live in the house and maybe were selected, through domestication to maybe live in the household or become family dogs and so on, they might have more of an interest in trying to communicate with their owner and maybe request for things.
So, I don't know many scientists, but are you able to be as in awe of some of these results as we are? When Margie mentioned the beach thing, correct me if I'm wrong, when the beach button disappeared, I think the buttons that the dog pushed were something like water outside, help, meaning, it's just unbelievable, this does that affect you like it affects, I know you got to draw different conclusions, but are you as wowed as we are by this?
Yes. I am as wowed as you are. The difference is, that's why I'm doing it, right? It's like when people told me not to do it, I was like, imagine you see something amazing. Imagine you think that there's something there and you want to show it to others, right? It's like you see something amazing, you want to show it to others. You want others to know. And I think that's what we I think that's what scientists should always do, is trying to help others see what is out there, the beauty of nature.
You know what's so great about this? So you mentioned like the dog with the earache. I mean, we've all owned dogs, and sometimes you know that the dog is sick, but you don't know what's wrong.
How frustrating
and you
it
feel
is,
so
right.
terrible.
What is the problem?
And you don't know. And sometimes you go to the vet, and the vet has no idea. So it's the fact that the dog could communicate an earache
incredible.
or a pricker in their paw.
And the study that you saw also in the documentary is the one where like they can learn the concept help and ask for help in situations that are different from how they got trained in. And so understanding the concept help is a very abstract concept, right? It's like, but being able to ask for help is the first step towards receiving help.
Okay, so what are the next steps for you and your colleagues so that you don't have to say in the follow-up film, it's impossible to know for sure? When will you know for sure if, in fact, it's demonstrated? What do you need to know?
I think we have a few things we're trying to do. One is, for example, creating scenarios in which these productivity examples where like they can combine novel buttons, communicate about novel things, whether that can be reproduced in a controlled manner. That is considered one of the main hallmark of what it means to be able to have language and communicate. We're looking at how they combine some of these buttons. We have hundreds of dogs that push multiple buttons in a sequence. You know, is it like syntax in humans, or is it completely random? Is it something else? We're trying to get there. And the other thing is really to see how training affects us. Like one of the things that people don't appreciate is like when some people tell me, but hey, a dog only knows a few 100 words. And I'm like, when you think about these buttons, just think that a child hears about 20,000 words a day when they're just in a household. These dogs probably see a human pushing the button maybe 50 times a day. Yeah. In 1 year, they're going to hear the same number of button presses that a child hears in 1 day. To me, it's just amazing that they can even do this, you know. So I think part of the idea is like, what if we do it at a different pace, at a different amount? Could we actually scale things up and see something that right now seems impossible?
Well, your research is spectacular. The film is absolutely captivating.
Well, it's so much fun to watch these dogs pressing these
great.
buttons, and no one knows exactly what they mean. Not to mention the fetch and tug difference with the toys. That was amazing.
Federico, it's great to meet you. And by the way, Marjorie's going to say about the event tonight, but if you can't make it to the event, you go to pbs.org/Nova, and you can watch the full episode of Can Dogs Talk. It's well worth your hour.
That's right. Okay, we have been speaking with Dr. Federico Rossano, Associate Professor of Cognitive Science at UC San Diego. He's featured in Nova's latest film, Can Dogs Talk? He's going to be, as Jim said, at GBH tonight for a special event screening clips from the film and talking about all this incredible research. You go to gbh.org/events. That's gbh.org/events for more information. Thank you very much for coming in.
Great to meet you. That was great. You were terrific.
Coming up after this quick break, it's Am I the A-Hole Day? Today's prompt involves strict punctuality rules and the people we love who break them. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. Listening to BPR on 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm a little embarrassed to be reading them, but some of these notes that those of you who have been kind enough to make a contribution, spend a couple of minutes to write to us, are just so, they're really great. A friend in Wellesley. I love Jim and Marjorie. Well, I mean, there's just, you're, Jessica in Boxford. You're fantastic, Jim and Marjorie, 1A as well. The radio, the television, what would we do without you? Marcus in Franklin. This is one of the most important causes to support in my mind. I appreciate the diverse and interesting programming and exemplary reporting. This really means a lot to us. And when you decide in fairly tough economic times also to make a contribution, it means a lot lot to us, too. If you want to join all these fine souls who've done it, you call 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. It only takes a minute or two, and you buy a lot with your contribution. And we hope you like all the programming at this place as much as we do.
You know, a lot of people mention the different guests we have, too. Here's Jean from Atkinson who says, as a transplant, I rely on the show for information news about Boston. Please keep showcasing restaurants and features. Love Corby Comer and John King. And then Pamela from Saundersound loves Juliette Kayyem and John King. And
a lot of people like the music on Friday, which makes me very happy because we love the music on Friday.
On Friday as well. So thank you very much for those kind words and for taking the time to contribute and to offer your comments about why you contribute. As I said before, the big offering today is this hand warmer deal that you can put, obviously, inside your glove or just hold it in your hand, and it keeps your hands warm when you're running around in this cold weather, out walking the dog, speaking of dogs, or just going for a walk. It can also be used to recharge your phone, which is really wonderful. You get that for $10 a month, which is a sustainer membership, which means a lot to our budget people here because they know how much money they have to get for the year. 888-897-9424 is the number. gbhnews.org is the website where you can give securely. The hand warmer is only available till 1. If you haven't given before or you'd like to give a little bit more, we love it. We love it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. No library shows or no shows from the library until March 3rd. They're doing work on the equipment there, and then we're back. And obviously we're here in Brighton every single day in between. Mayor's with us on March 10th. We're waiting to hear on the governor and the AG for their February visit. Our Am I the A-hole prompt today comes from our intern Ronan, who has a dispatch from college that we can all relate to. A professor has a very strict no late policy for class. If you're more than 2 minutes late, you get marked as absent. 3 late strikes and you're out, meaning an automatic F in the class. Now, we're not all in college, but we all know both of these types of people, the perennially late and the rigidly punctual. So the lines are open to debate who's the a-hole. In college, and not just in college, and in our everyday lives, the person who's consistently late, Marjorie, putting everybody else's schedule off. You're better than you used to be.
I'm much
You're a lot better. Or the person who insists on punctuality no matter what, no matter how small the slight is. The number is 877-301-8970. So who is the a-hole in this situation? The person who demands punctuality or the person who is perennially late for virtually everything? Who's the a-hole? We have microphones for radio
I know.
show.
I dropped my paper in the floor. This is ridiculous. You're 2 minutes late for the class, and the guy going to mark you out, and especially when the kid is running between classes and there's a distance there, and it gets held up in the previous class. I think that's crazy. I mean, if you're 5 minutes late, if you're late a lot, if you don't have a reason for being late, I mean, I think
forget the college example. Mm-hmm. How about generally somebody you used to be late all the time?
I did.
You're not late all the time. I don't know why that is.
You gave me a great thing, and I do this a lot.
It's not that original.
I know, but I
okay, what is it?
Well, I bring my work with me and get places early, and then if I get there early, I just do my work that I need to get done, so I don't feel like I'm getting there for nothing. And also, I read somewhere along the line how rude it is, really, to other people.
Because you're screwing everybody. It's not
your
just
time. My time is more valuable than your time. But I was reprimanded by people that have ADHD, and they say that's one of their problems. They can never get any place on time because they have ADHD. So maybe I'm being too quick to judge them. But I try to do better. I used to be late for everything. It was very stressful. Very stressful. You drive like a lunatic. Your blood pressure's through the roof. You do all sorts of silly, embarrassing things.
So the question again at 877-301-8970, who is the a-hole? The example we chose to start with is the kid who's late for class. But in general, the person who is almost always late, even if a little bit, or the person who says you're either punctual or else. Let me give you two examples. The example we always pick when we talk about lateness, which we do once or twice a year here, George W. Bush. George W. Bush, when he was president, when he had a cabinet meeting, if you were the Secretary of State, Marjorie, and you were 30 seconds late, what happens?
Yeah, they shut the door.
They lock.
That's ridiculous.
That is totally sane. They lock the door, and you know what happens after they lock the door? No one's ever late again.
Although, on the other hand, if you had a meeting with the President of the United States,
you should show up on time.
You might make it your business to get there on time.
Now, that's George W. Bush. It's one of the few things where I'm totally with him. Let me tell you another story that I don't know if I've told you this before. This is one of the most embarrassing things ever. When I used to be a lobbyist at the State House, I'm in a press conference. It was then Governor Swift. Jane Swift was doing a press conference.
I know where this
So
is
the
going.
press conference has started. And some people are asking questions. I don't remember. It was a pretty important press conference. And then the door's locked, as it often is when the room is packed. And some lunatic who is late from the media, this is a true story, is pounding on the door repeatedly.
I was pounding on the door.
Trying to, wait, who was it again?
'Twas I. Yeah, it was. I would have been in big trouble if I missed that press conference. I don't know why I was
literally,
late.
she is
But I was
pounding on the
gonna
door.
get in, come
No one
hell
knew
or
who
high
she
water.
was. They finally opened the door.
State trooper.
Who is it?
He
But
was
Marjorie
really,
Egan.
he was really ticked off. You know what was hysterical? Is that the press conference got coverage on television or radio or something like that. I could hear myself banging
on the television coverage. Exactly.
bad.
So is the person who demands punctuality, is he or she or they the a-hole? Ooh, I almost said it. Or is it the person who's always late? Richard in Framingham, you're first. Welcome.
All right.
All right,
you should show
yourself.
up at class on time. It's really disruptive and it's rude. And you should if we're talking about a big lecture class, who really cares? But on a small one, definitely show up on time. But flunking someone for showing up late,
come on,
even if they do it 3 times, that's absolutely, totally, utterly ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Back in the day when computers weren't as good in college, I scheduled 2 classes for the same time period and got A's in both of them. So,
I don't think that's an example that we should all follow, Richard.
You know what I wonder, though?
It's not an example. It isn't an example at all, but it just goes to show you that if you learn the material, sometimes class attendance, we're adults. If we can manage to learn the material outside of someone's really bad lecturing, why waste time sitting in a classroom?
Richard, thank you for the call. Michelle texts, I am a professor on my way home from class right now. That professor is rational, meaning the one in Ronan's example. My students are so stressed out that adding the fear of failing due to being 5 minutes late is too much. I start my class exactly on time, and if people miss information, it's on them. So there you go.
Another person says that if you're late, you're being passive-aggressive.
You are.
The teacher says they ignore them. Here's a bit of great advice. This is down from Ipswich. The person who's late is the a-hole. I told my daughter to always leave 15 minutes earlier than she thinks she needs to. And that's why Waze is a wonderful thing. You can see how long it's supposed to take it to get a certain place and then leave 15 minutes early. So you're so much less stressed.
How many years have we been on the air, Marjorie?
Since
27.
1999.
27 years.
Wow.
How many times have I been late?
I don't think you've ever been late.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Anonymous texter, it was very nice of you to say.
You're over the top. I mean, you get there really early.
What do you care what I am?
Yeah,
I'm never late.
Really, remember the time we were doing the debate? I almost didn't make it because I was stuck in traffic.
That's really shocking. What a shocking thing
I think that
is.
was like a gubernatorial debate.
Yeah,
it was a
I know.
big deal.
Why show
it
up
was
early?
At the Kennedy Library.
Why prepare? It's not a big deal. Here is...
that was awful.
Assuming this person
God.
is saying, for
Talk about
people like me
sweating bullets.
who think the person who's late is the a-hole, says, does this mean my doctor is always the a-hole? I actually have a lot of doctors, as you know, and every one of them is stunningly prompt, which is really respectful. I mean, making you wait, isn't that a real... How do you feel about that, Marjorie?
I find that fewer doctors make you wait now. I think they're better.
I think that's true.
I think they've gotten criticized a lot about it.
Mike in North Carolina. Hi, you got a minute.
Good morning. This is Mike in North Carolina.
Hi,
Mike. Hi.
Hi, I met you at the Boston Public Library last summer.
I remember. We remember you. Yes, we did. Marjorie does, and I do, apparently.
Thank you.
What's up, Mike?
So the person who's late is the a-hole. And I have a story with one of your other guests that I love, Rick Steves.
Yeah.
My wife and I were on a tour of his, and we were in Rome.
Yeah.
So they have a rule. If you're more than 2 minutes late for the bus, they tell you what time the bus is going to leave. The bus leaves without you.
Wow.
So there was a family that had a couple of teenage boys with them, and they were late for the bus. and we waited 2 minutes, and they didn't show up, so the bus left without them, and they had to get a taxi and catch up with us at the next stop.
Rick we've never asked him that question. We are going to broach this with him next month when he's on. Mike, I'm fine with that. Thank you. Were you okay with that?
Oh, absolutely. I love Rick. We had a great time with the tour. We've been on more since then with him.
That's fabulous. Thanks for sharing that story. We really appreciate it. Take care. That's Mike from North Carolina. We got to take a break.
We're going to be right back taking more of your calls and texts about who is the jerk here, the person who's late or the person that's not. And couples. This is a big issue with couples.
It is a big issue.
This is BPR and GBH. We'll be right back.
Live, local, 5 days a week. Jim Braude, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424. 888-897-9424 at gbhnews.org. You know, it's really interesting. People are very concerned about the news sources, which makes sense because so many of them are bogus now. Yeah. This is from Jill in Lee. News I can trust, served up with humor and authenticity. Love the guests. Public nature of the shows recorded at the BPL. That's the library, of course. Longtime listener and supporter. Thank you. And listen to this one, Jim. This is from Bridget in Portsmouth. Yeah. I look forward to listening to Jim and Marjorie every afternoon and appreciate their integrity and vulnerability with the audience. Jim, do you feel that you are vulnerable with our audience?
I feel I'm vulnerable every minute, actually. Tell you the truth. Here are a couple others. Let me just read it. This is a good one. We've been waiting 2 days for this, or 3 days. Joyce from Hopedale. I'm increasing my donations because we're very dangerous times. Free speech is being threatened. Misinformation and disinformation is rampant. AI has no constraints. Thank you all. Love Jim and Marjorie. Especially Marjorie. And this is another good one. This is the first one we got in it. Karen from Milford. I love Jim and Marjorie. Listen to this. And how listeners, meaning the callers, are very clever and keep me entertained.
We do. We have great callers.
We do.
We have great callers and great texters. We're really lucky.
Here's the deal. As Marjorie said, and our colleague said, 888-897-9424 is the number to call to give, or go to gbhnews.org. It's quite quick. And what do you call an enticement gift, et cetera? Thank you gift, if you choose. Yeah, for $10 a month or $120 all at once. And by the way, this opportunity disappears in 16 minutes at 1 o'clock. You get these 89.7 GBH hand warmers that not only warm your hands, which is a good thing in winter, they also, I can't believe this, they're a power bank to charge your phone if your phone goes dead. But I'll say it again, that shouldn't be the primary reason you give. The primary reason you should give is because you really like what our colleagues do here. It matters to you. And if you want the hand warmer and can afford the $10 a month in addition, that's great. Give whatever you can if you want to support our work at 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Now, Sarah from Newton really understands the situation. She says, I want to give during Jim and Marjorie's show.
Well, that's your thing.
And that's my mantra.
I
appreciate
selfish.
that, Sarah from Newton. That means you have 15 minutes to ante up and only 15 minutes for the hand warmer because after 1 o'clock it's going to go up. Right now it's $10 a month, $120 all at once, and it's a neat little gift. So if you've been hesitating, now is the time. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR, Jim Braude and Marjorie Egan, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. The centerpiece of our discussion about who is the a-hole today is about lateness. Is the a-hole the person who is perpetually late, or is it the person who demands punctuality all the time, even if it's anally so? That Ronan's friends, our intern's friend's professor, if you're late, what was it, 3 times, you get an F in the course. That may be a little bit extreme, but you know what the rules of the road are, and you comply with them or you don't. You pay a price.
Did you read Nicole's text?
No, I did not.
Nicole,
our co-worker
at Boston College. Maybe there's something going on up there. She says, BC is odd. One time I hit my head pretty hard. I had a small cut. I asked my teacher if I could be excused from a quiz that day and take it later. She said, of course. Turns out I had a minor concussion, and she gave me an F on the quiz.
Well, I don't want to be unkind to Nicole because I like her a lot. Yeah. Just don't hit your head. I mean, it's if you don't hit your head, isn't that obvious? I mean, really.
I don't know. No, I don't know. Maybe the Catholics got some problem with people lateness. We missed that in catechism. You can't be late. You get hit over the head.
Sophia in Cambridge, you're next. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Greetings. The person who is perpetually late is definitely the AH.
Good.
I used to have I used to have a standing meeting every week at my company, and if you came late, you had two choices. You either had to stand outside, or to stay in the meeting, you had to sing a song to the group.
That is great.
That's a good one.
That is really good. Sophia, thanks.
So for those singers in the group, they were always late. And for the people who were humiliated, they were always on time.
That's a good line. Hey, thanks for sharing that with us. We really appreciate it.
Dean Ashton says, what really gets me is when people show up late when I invite them for dinner. One time we just ate the food, and when they showed up, they had to eat cold dinner.
So how do you feel about that? I mean, you're not into that because you think that's tough love kind of thing. Is that what your problem is?
Well, I think if somebody's going to be late for dinner, they should call you up and tell you they're going to be late.
Yeah.
But, you don't want to get somebody invites you for dinner. You don't want to show up at 6.
No.
If they say dinner is 6, you don't want them to show up at 6. One time I had people show up early. That was horrible.
Really?
You're running around trying to get everything organized, and they're at the door.
Wow,
that's
amazing.
bad.
You have to let them in.
You want them to show up, I think, 10 or 15 minutes late.
Okay,
for dinner,
fine.
Don't you
Okay,
think?
not really.
You want people to show up exactly the time you say?
Exactly. What I do is I usually stand by the door at exactly the moment. And then what I did, we had invited some people over dinner last week.
Yeah.
One of them was a minute and 30 seconds late, locked them out. And let me tell you something, next time they're invited, they're going to be there on time.
Okay.
We did slide them a piece of pita under the door just so they didn't go home.
Why do you do this in the couple situation, though? Because I think people have different views. I mean, one half is punctual and one half is not. And it could be a cause of friction in the romance.
Excellent point there.
Bridget in Somerville. Hi, Bridget.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty punctual, but sometimes in greater Boston, it's beyond your control with traffic and public transport.
That's a good point.
However, what really bothers me is at doctor's offices and some salons, if you're late, they might give up your appointment or charge you. But when they're running late, they don't even call you to say, hey, you can relax. We're running 15 minutes late.
Can I tell you, you're a genius.
Yeah.
I never even thought of that. None of my doctors charge if you're late. Of course, I wouldn't be late. But what's good for the proverbial goose? That's an excellent point, Bridget. We're going to pursue that with the next doctors on our show. Thank you very much for the call.
Here's a quote from Evelyn Waugh. He wrote this book, funny books about the golfer, the British guy. Here's it is: punctuality is the virtue of the bored. What do you think of that, Jim?
What the hell does that mean?
It means people like you are boring.
Oh, it's the virtue of the board. Mm-hmm. I thought you meant B-O-A-R-D.
No, B-O-R-E-D.
Punctuality. Well, that's from somebody who's late all the time. Isn't that obvious?
I guess so.
It's like a self-defense kind of thing.
Merrill in Dublin, New Hampshire.
Hello, Merrill. How are you?
Hi, hang on. Just a sec. I got to get off. Hang on. Sorry.
That's okay. No, we have nowhere to go.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Yeah.
Good. So I had to call because my husband and I went to a wedding of one of my son's best friends.
Yeah.
And we had to wait. The mother of the groom was an hour late to her own son's wedding.
That's a good one.
That is a really good one. Go ahead.
Everybody had to wait around. They had to wait around. We waited around, and then the bride was waiting for the mother of the groom to show up. So that was...
Now, Meryl,
what I wanted to call about.
Was she sending a message about her feelings about the bride, or what was going on there, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think she definitely had a real issue with always being late because she had to make an entrance.
Yeah, that's the other thing that people say, that people that are late all the time are trying to make an entrance. I've heard that one too.
Merrill, thanks for the call. Listen to this. Do you see what Jamie's note is?
My Italian parents are always late to everything. They were late to my wedding. The musicians had to vamp and keep playing random music until they got there.
Wow. What's your reaction to that, Marjorie? Be honest here.
Were they sending a message? Do you think, Jamie? Were they trying to send a message?
You can't see Jamie.
You can't see. Okay. Some of the things people are trying to send a message. If you're late to a wedding, that means you're like in that, you're concerned about what's about to happen. Maria from Marblehead.
Maria, 30 seconds because the show's almost over.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Marjorie forgot about that. Go ahead.
Hi there.
Hi.
Calling in. I'm definitely the person that is late is definitely the AH.
Yeah.
My best friend was late to my father's funeral.
Oh, that's not good.
Yep. She showed says they're finishing the Grayside service.
Well, the only problem there is nobody's gone anywhere, right? So, I'm not defending it, but that's insensitive?
Well,
Maria, my apologies.
The person who had died was not going anywhere.
Right.
Other
okay.
people.
You should be on time to everything. Maria, thanks for the call. It's not just funerals and weddings. My takeaway from this, show respect to other people and show up on time, okay?
That's right, Jim. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Punctuality is the virtue of the board. B-O-R-E-D.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. Keep up with this 24/7 by way of our podcast, or check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Tomorrow, we're not at the Boston Public Library because of repairs we need there, but we are live on the air with some Lunar New Year's music. That's going to be great.
This guy is incredible. I listened to him. He is a saxophonist. Brilliant.
Press Play Media Analysis with Sue O'Connell and Callie Crossley, and retired federal judge Nancy Gertner, who knows everything about the legal cases.
And the tariff decision may come out tomorrow,
Yes.
which is huge.
Our crew is Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Laws, additional support from Ronan Keene. Brad Lewis ran our live stream today. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Our executive producer is Jamie Bologna. Our author Andy Free is going to join us tomorrow as well. Stay tuned for the Curiosity Desk, which starts immediately after us. And then right after the Curiosity Desk is the Culture Show with Jared Bowen. I'm Marjorie Egan.
I'm Jim Browdy.
Thanks again for tuning in today. I hope you can tune in tomorrow and have a lovely afternoon.
Bye.
Boston Public Radio today was made possible by our listeners who give money to GBH. That support is the only way to keep Boston Public Radio on the radio. So please do your part by giving during our winter membership drive. Online at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Kiki Loa.
Support GBH and pick up a pair of our brand new GBH 89.7 hand warmers as a thank you gift. This is a special offer only available for the next couple of minutes today. You can get these for $10 per month of a sustaining membership or $120 all at once. After 1 o'clock today, the donation level will go up to $240. So don't miss out on your chance to get these warmers that are reusable and rechargeable. The sleek design makes them perfect for travel of any kind. They are black with the station logo in white, and they can also be used as a power bank to charge your phone. Sign up as a sustaining member to GBH at $10 a month or $120 all at once, and make sure to ask for the reusable hand warmers. But again, you only have a few more minutes to get in on this offer. gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
And we have a goal right now. We are looking to hear from 10 people in the next just about 5 minutes now. 10 people in the next 5 minutes. We need the financial support of everyone who relies on GBH to keep this important service on the air and available to all. GBH has been your source of credible news, and your contribution now will help to keep it that way. Listener contributions empower us to investigate, verify, and report the truth. So please give now. Help meet the goal of just 10 more people in the next 5 minutes. 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Public radio is not like other media outlets. We don't have billionaires or shareholders steering our coverage or shaping our stories. At GBH, our commitment is to you. Your voice and your support guide everything that we do. When you donate to GBH, you invest in news and storytelling that reflects your community, because at the end of the day, we're only accountable to our listeners. So please make your contribution right now. Support Boston Public Radio at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
And be sure to ask for the 89.7 GBH hand warmers as our thanks. This is, again, our brand new special offer just today. Only this very special offer is only available until 1 o'clock. After 1 o'clock, that's about 4 minutes from now, you would have to give a $240 to get these hand warmers. But right now, $10 per month as a sustaining member. Support all of your Boston Public Radio listening and ask for the hand warmers as our thanks. You can also make that gift $120 all at once. Either way, again, you are supporting all of your listening in the months ahead. 888-897-9424 or ask for them when you give online at gbhnews.org.
And big GBH News thank you to Stephen in Andover, Nancy in Providence, Rhode Island, Anna in Charlestown, Dorothy in Newburyport, and Catherine in North Falmouth, who says, Marjorie and Jim always give my friends and I a lot to talk about, and we just love them. Thank you all so much for supporting us during Boston Public Radio. If you want to make your support and love of Boston Public Radio known, then make your contribution right now. You only have a few more minutes to do so. It's easy to do when you give us a call at 888-897-9424 or go online and click the donate button at gbhnews.org.
Think about all you've heard on GBH just in the past few months. That's what your investment supports. It's high-quality news, in-depth reporting, and connections to your neighbors and to the world. Please become a new sustaining member with an ongoing contribution of just $5 or $10 per month. And the next time you listen to GBH and you hear something you really like, you'll know that you helped make it possible. Call 888-897-9424. Again, that's 888-897-9424. Or give online at gbhnews.org.
Please become a new sustaining member to GBH right now. It really doesn't take much to make a difference. Where else can you invest $5 per month and get hours and hours of valuable information, interesting discussion, and intelligent entertainment? The answer is really nowhere. It's just $5 a month for all of your listening. Please make your contribution right now. Become a new 888-897-9424 or go online and click the donate button at gbhnews.org.
And be sure to ask for the GBH 89.7 hand warmers as our thanks for your gift of just $10 per month as a sustaining member, or a one-time gift of $120 all at once. Now, this very special offer is wrapping up in just a couple of minutes, but if you get that call started or that online gift started, you will be able to get them for that $10 a month gift of support, or again, that $120 all at once. After 1 o'clock this afternoon, that pledge level goes up to $240. But right now, make your gift of support. Support your Boston Public Radio listening. Ask for the GBH 89.7 hand warmers as our thanks for your gift of support. 888-897-9424 or make that gift online, gbhnews.org.
And there's only just a couple minutes left in this hour, and we still need to hear from 4 more people, 4 more lovers of Boston Public Radio who want to make their love and support known to make this goal successful, this hour successful. The goal is important because it will help us to stay on track for the membership drive and ensure that we have the money needed to pay our quarterly bill to NPR. Listener support is vital to keeping this public service on the air in Boston. Again, just 4 more people and just a few minutes left to do it. So please make your contribution right now, and hey, grab those GBH 897 hand warmers, 888-897-9424.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's, how-tos, and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Direct Federal Credit Union, a Needham-based financial institution providing loans, saving solutions, and financial wellness resources for members across every stage of life. Learn more by visiting direct.com. Direct Federal, member NCUA. And the Massachusetts Health Connector for Business. Premium value plans can help small business owners find and offer accessible employee health benefits. Learn more at mahealthconnector.org/business.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, in D.C. today, President Trump holds the first formal meeting of his new Board of Peace, with leaders from dozens of countries joining to discuss, as they describe it, global stabilization. But that mission bears a strong resemblance to another multinational coalition, the United Nations. We'll examine the UN's complex history and ask what its role is today in a tense global moment. Then, we're still just as hooked on the Olympics as you are. The quad is all the rage in figure skating. We ask the MIT Sports Lab, are 5 rotations possible?
It gets harder and harder to get those advances every time. I think we will see a quint, but I wouldn't want to place bets on when we'll see it.
It's all ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. British authorities have arrested former Prince Andrew, one of the most prominent known associates of the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. He's accused of misconduct in public office. His brother, King Charles III, says he supports a full, fair, and proper investigation. The U.S. military looks to be sending even more ships and top-of-the-line warplanes to the Middle East. This coming as the U.S. and Iran are still discussing a possible nuclear deal. Here's NPR's Greg Myrie.
The Pentagon isn't talking about the U.S. military buildup, but flight tracking groups on social media more fighter jets to countries near Iran. And President Trump has confirmed a second aircraft carrier is on the way. He says he favors a nuclear deal with Iran, which would necessitate more negotiations. Yet he's also voiced support for regime change in that country, which would likely require a major U.S. military operation. Iran says it's prepared to retaliate if attacked by the U.S. or Israel. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Washington.
President Trump raised concerns about Iran's nuclear program today.
And we do have some work to do with Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. And they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they've been told that very strongly.
Trump speaking at the first meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington, D.C. Some U.S. allies expressed concern that Trump's Board of Peace would rival the United Nations. Fire crews in Oklahoma are facing down multiple wildfires. Governor Kevin Stitt tells NPR he declared emergencies in 3 counties.
We had to evacuate the town of Tyrone, Woodward. They're about 15 to 20% contained, but we have about 150,000 acres so far that's burned. Reports of livestock that were damaged.
He says firefighters are dealing with powerful wind gusts and low humidity, further complicating containment efforts. The U.S. trade deficit jumped more than expected in December. NPR's Scott Horsley reports for all of last year, the trade gap barely budged despite President Trump's much higher tariffs.
The U.S. trade gap widened sharply in December, topping $70 billion. Exports were down during the month, while imports were up. For all of 2025, the trade deficit was just over $900 billion. That's down from the previous year, but only by about 0.2%. New applications for unemployment benefits dipped last week as 206,000 people applied for aid. The modest numbers suggest that while U.S. employers are not adding a lot of jobs, they're not laying a lot of people off either. Walmart reported another strong quarter of sales and profits as even upscale shoppers go looking for discounts. The retail giant issued a cautious forecast, though, about what's ahead. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
From Washington, this is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. The U.S. women's hockey team is taking on Canada in about 2 minutes with a gold medal on the line in the Winter Olympics. As GBH's Esteban Bustillos reports, there are lots of local connections on Team USA.
The Boston Fleet's Megan Keller, Aaron Frankel, and Haley Wynn will have a chance to come home with a gold medal if all goes well today. And the chances are looking pretty good for the Americans to win just their 3rd gold in women's hockey. The U.S. is undefeated in the Olympics so far and won an earlier game against Canada last week by a score of 5-0. Besides Keller, Frankel, and Wynn, the USA women's hockey team features Alex Carpenter, a native of North Reading. Esteban Bustillos, GBH News.
That game starts at 1:10, just about 7 minutes from now. As the MBTA begins the long-awaited work to make the C branch stations along Beacon Street on the Green Line accessible, some residents are worried about the impact the changes will have on many trees along the route. As part of the construction, the T says it'll have to take down some 96 trees, but adds it'll plant 98 new ones. However, there's one tree in question, a 50-year-old red oak, which is home to an eastern screech owl, a bird whose active nest is protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918. So, what to do? Nearly 40 Brookline residents joined a meeting with the Tree Planting Committee on February 3rd. Many opposed the design for the station where the screech owl lives. They add that saving the large red oak tree, that the owl doesn't go far enough. They worry that removing surrounding trees will disturb the bird. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Today, President Trump assembled leaders from more than 24 countries for the inaugural meeting of his brand new Board of Peace. The mission of this new multinational collaborative seems on its face to have a lot in common with the mission of another multinational collaborative institution that you may have heard of, the United Nations. So in the spirit of this show, we want to take a moment, take a step back and ask, how did the UN come to be? How has its strength evolved and waned over the decades? And what is its role on the global stage in 2026? Abiodun Williams is a professor of the practice of international politics at Tufts Tisch College. He's held leadership positions in academia, at think tanks, and perfect for us today, the United Nations. Professor Williams, welcome to the Curiosity Desk.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. And I want to say at the outset that, we need the United Nations to prevent global chaos. It's the only forum in the world where 193 countries can meet, they can negotiate, and they can work to de-escalate crises. And the UN sends peacekeeping missions to conflict zones to stabilize countries and to help countries make the difficult transition from war to peace. And it also imposes sanctions to discourage aggression in the world. And the UN also engages in active mediation to reduce the risks of global disputes becoming regional or global catastrophes. So without the UN, conflicts will not disappear, they will escalate. And we also need the UN to solve global problems which no one country can solve alone. Climate change, pandemics, refugee crises, terrorism. These problems do not stop at borders. They are global problems. They are problems without passports. And the UN is working through its agencies like the World Health Organization, which provides vaccines to millions of children each year. The UN Refugee Agency helps really desperate refugees who are fleeing from famine, from war. And the World Food Programme and UNICEF, they provide valuable humanitarian assistance to thousands of people. So, and the UN is also working with countries to tackle the existential crisis which the whole world is facing of climate change. So when we need the world to move together, the UN is the operating system. And let me just say one more thing. The UN is built on a very radical idea, and that is that brute force is not the only determinant, does not determine legitimacy. So the UN Charter, the bodies like the International Court of Justice, and the norms which are upheld by the UN General Assembly, they anchor global order in the Charter, in a rule of law, in sovereignty, and in human rights, and not brute force.
A lot there to unpack. So let's try to do some of that right now. I want to start by asking you about President Trump's Board of Peace. We mentioned in the open that, they're sort of having their coming out party today. Now that Board of Peace grew out of a UN resolution that a body be created to oversee the Gaza peace plan. So how does the Board of Peace, as you see it right now, how does that line up with what the UN was expecting?
Well, as you say, the Board of Peace was authorized, it was endorsed last November by the UN. And it was initially conceived to help with the implementation of a peace plan in Gaza and to help with the reconstruction of Gaza. But when it was unveiled at the World Economic Forum at Davos a few weeks ago, the mandate had expanded beyond what the UN had approved to now tackle broader global issues. This board, the membership of the board is issued by the chairman by invitations. Countries have to pay $1 billion if they want permanent membership of this board. And as you were saying at the outset, about 24 countries have signed up, countries including Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Pakistan, and Turkey. But what is significant is that a number of European countries, a number of which are close US allies, have declined the invitation and are not participating in this inaugural meeting. Countries including the United Kingdom, France, Norway, and Sweden. So the mandate and the expansion of the mandate is a concern.
We're going to get into some of those topics just ahead. I want to take a step back because, as we promised, what we like to do on the show is take a step back. And let's talk about the formation of the UN. 1945, it's the aftermath of World War II. And it's basically, it comes together in the context of the League of Nations having essentially failed at preventing that massive global conflict. What was the initial idea, and how was it going to be different than what had come before it?
Yes, well, the founders of the UN, particularly, President Roosevelt, who led the move to found the UN, they were real realists. They have they'd gone through a Second World War where you'd had about 60 million people who had been killed. And they'd witnessed the failure of the UN, of the League of Nations, to prevent the Second World War. It had also failed to prevent the invasion of Italy, of Abyssinia, which is now Ethiopia, and it had failed to prevent the invasion of Manchuria. So they wanted a new organization, first, which would put collective security at the center of this organization, and an organization which would prevent World War III. They wanted an organization where the major powers would work together to prevent global conflict. And they also did something which is very different from the UN, but under the Charter of the UN, there's a prohibition on the use of force by any country, with the exception of self-defense. So it's only the Security Council which can authorize the use of force under the UN Charter.
I want to talk about the Security Council. We're speaking with Abiodun Williams, professor of international politics at the Fletcher School and Tisch College, Tufts University. You mentioned the Security Council. You also just mentioned the fact that in President Trump's Board of Peace, people can pay X number of dollars to become a permanent member. The structure of the Security Council is one where we have these 5 permanent members: China, France, Soviet Union initially, the UK, and the US. Why those 5 countries as the permanent members?
Those were the 5 countries it reflected the political, the economic realities of 1945. And those 5 countries had been allies and led the creation of the UN. And so one of the issues that the Council is now facing is, of course, a legitimacy and a representation gap, because the Council has the 5 permanent members, as you say, the United States, China, Russia, the United Kingdom, and France, usually referred to as the P5, and they have a veto. They can stop action on any issue, including Gaza, including Ukraine.
So let's talk about the veto situation, because I think that's something for folks to pay attention. I think you can look at it 2 ways. You can say, is it a problem that there's this veto power, or is it an important feature, or is it sometimes both? Can you give an example of how the veto has served a positive purpose?
Well, the veto now has been used by permanent members to stop action on issues like Gaza and Ukraine, and it frustrates the action which the Security Council can take to deal with global crises and global problems. So what we would want to see and what would be useful is to have a voluntary restraint on the use of the veto by the P5. And certainly, if you're faced in a situation where you have mass atrocities, you want the voluntary use of the veto. I also think that there is an opportunity when the Security Council is deadlocked because of disagreements among the P5, that there is greater use of the General Assembly to take a role when there is deadlock. For example, under the Uniting for Peace resolution, the General Assembly did just that in 2022 on Ukraine, where it convened a special emergency session and called for collective measures. It was a move to mobilize political pressure and then to signal global public opinion. So when the council is blocked, we can look to the General Assembly. And there is also an opportunity for the General Assembly to request the UN Secretary General to take fact-finding missions to engage in mediation if the council is blocked.
So, you note that the UN establishes this premise that countries can't invade each other. They can't, invade sovereign borders, which, sounds like was sort of a new concept at the time. We look at the situation right now. We've got global conflicts all over the place, most notably in Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan. We have tensions escalating right now between the U.S. and Iran. I feel like oftentimes news coverage around the UN recently, to a certain extent, is about deadlock or members at odds or the inability of the Security Council to deliver on some of these missions that you're articulating. Do you think that's a fair criticism? I mean, you hear people say something as simple as if the UN can't stop wars, what exactly is it for?
Well, it is a criticism, and it's an understandable criticism when you have high-profile conflicts like Ukraine, like Gaza and Sudan. But what I would say is that the Council dispatches peacekeeping missions, and peacekeeping missions are the most visible and effective tool that the UN Security Council uses.
So when a UN peacekeeping mission is formed, when a mission is formed, what power does it actually have on the ground? How does it work?
Well, that of course depends on the mandate of a peacekeeping mission. So you could have, for example, a peacekeeping mission. One of the very first peacekeeping mission, which I was involved in the 90s, was a preventive deployment mission in what is now North Macedonia. And in an unprecedented decision, the United States Security Council deployed peacekeeping missions in the UN Preventive Deployment Force, to prevent the war, which was then happening in other parts of former Yugoslavia, from spilling into that conflict. That's one kind of mission, and which was fairly successful. You also have traditional missions where peacekeeping missions are deployed after you've had a ceasefire to monitor the observation of a ceasefire between two warring parties, two warring countries. And then you also have multidimensional missions. And by that I mean missions which have a much broader mandate, and they're supposed to help with reconstruction. They're supposed to help with elections. They're supposed to help with demobilization and reintegration of combatants to rebuild justice systems. So it all depends on the mandate. They can be narrow, they can be quite broad.
So on that specific peacekeeping missions question, I want to ask about Cyprus, because I feel like this is a good place to help us understand, which pieces of what happens under the UN's umbrella are kind of a feature or a bug. So I look at Cyprus, where there's a peacekeeping mission. While it's small in number, it's been going on for 60 years. So is that an example of the UN working exactly as it should? Or is that an example of it not working as well as it should because it's been there for 60 years? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Of course, I understand what you're asking. First, what I want to say is, peacekeeping was never envisaged in the UN Charter. If you look through the Charter, it doesn't appear at all. It came about because the collective security system wasn't working. And it's a remarkable example of how the UN is adaptable, how it can respond to different circumstances. And in the case of Cyprus, as in other peacekeeping operations, it's there to provide a space for different factions to find a solution. A peacekeeping force does not create a political situation. It provides a space for different factions to work it out. Sometimes it can take 5 years. Sometimes it can take 10 years or more, or longer, as in the case of Cyprus. But the fact is, it is there. It is much better to have them present and not having wars erupting.
You mentioned earlier the Secretary General. I mean, we talked a little bit about the Security Council and its sort of role, in lack of a better way of saying it, in sort of a leadership position at the UN. But the Secretary General, of course, is the figure who is the leader at the UN. What is the role of the Secretary General?
Well, the Secretary General, as you say, is the face of the organization. The UN Secretary General is the chief diplomat of the world. So the first role of a Secretary General is to help. It is to help with mediation, is to help with quiet diplomacy, work behind the scenes, and to prevent conflicts from erupting. The Secretary General also has an important role to shape the global agenda, to bring key global issues like climate change, global health issues like pandemics, environmental issues, human rights issues on the global agenda. So that global shaping role is an important role for a Secretary General. And we've been talking about the Security Council. When the Security Council is blocked, as it has been for much of the UN's history, therein lies the opportunity, because a creative and a dynamic Secretary General can come up with workable solutions. And if a Secretary General provides workable solutions to the Council can ask for more.
The UN in general, when I think about it, should it be a mirror or a lantern? That is to say, is the role of the UN to manage the world as it is on the ground as best as it can? Or is it more to be a lantern and point a way forward for the world to be going in?
Well, it is both. It takes the world as it is, and it has to be aware of political realities. But the UN also has to point the way ahead. So it has to have a vision. And for example, that's an important role of a Secretary General. A Secretary General can articulate a global agenda, can articulate and the importance of values like human security, human rights, collective responsibility. And by so doing, the United Nations and the Secretary General can influence how individual countries understand and interpret their own interests. So it is both understanding political realities and combining political realities with bold and visionary leadership, thereby maximizing the role and the opportunity which the organization can make in a very turbulent world.
You said something a little earlier that really struck me, which is that you said, when the Security Council is blocked, as it has been for much of the United Nations history, does the design of the United Nations still make sense for the world we're in now, 80 years after it was created, or is there some other way to organize it?
Well, there are some parts of the United Nations which make sense. For example, the General Assembly. It represents most of the countries in the world. You have 193 countries which are represented, and it's a very unique forum. right? In the case of the Security Council, as I said, you have a legitimacy, you have a representation gap. You have an organization of 15 members, 5 permanent members, reflecting the realities of political and economic power. So we have to look at the council to make sure that it reflects 2026 and not 1945.
Speaking of 2026, Trump has said, as you pointed out repeatedly, that his Board of Peace is going to go far beyond Gaza. He's also said that it's going to work in conjunction with the United Nations. So from where you sit right now in 2026 on this day, do you see this as something that is going to develop as a partner body, or is it shaping up to look more like it's going to be a competitor or even a potential replacement for the UN?
Well, it's not quite clear what the board is meant to do, but I would say this, because it has been touted in some circles as a possible replacement to the United Nations. I think that's not legally or practically feasible. Now, why is that the case? The UN has legitimacy and international authority. The international authority of the United Nations is based on the UN Charter, which is a treaty which is signed by 193 countries. And it also has legitimacy. And legitimacy is absolutely important if you're trying to deal with warring factions and you're going to engage in global disputes. You need that legitimacy. You need the international moral authority, which the United Nations has. And then the United Nations has vast expertise and vast experience. We've talked about peacekeeping. It has a peacekeeping record which goes back 80 years. It has experience in peacemaking and in peace building. It's not a perfect organization. It's imperfect. But you found in history that even when countries invade without the Security Council approval, as in the case of Iraq, or when NATO invades, as in the case of Kosovo, they always come back to the United Nations because of this unrivaled expertise and experience and its legitimacy.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. We've been speaking with Abiodun Williams, professor of international politics at the Fletcher School at Tufts University. Professor, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Just ahead, how close are we to reaching humanity's limit in figure skating? 5 rotations in reach? How about 6? This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH. Stay with us.
This is the Curiosity Desk, and today is our GBH membership drive. If you enjoy listening to Edgar and his crew as they dive into your most curious questions, consider making a contribution today. Any amount, whether it be $5, $10, or $50, supports our mission to bring you down-to-earth and interesting conversations. Enhance your own curiosity every day when you call 888-897-9424 or when you visit gbhnews.org. That's 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
That's 888-897-9424. If you want to do it over the phone, you can do it at gbhnews.org online. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III, taking just a moment away to ask you to support us now. With me in this endeavor is the one and only Patty Daniels.
Hi, Edgar. So good to be here with you. It is such a joy listening to your show, this brand new show that GBH has just launched in the last 6 weeks. And what we need more than anything is an expanding press, right? Yeah. We need more journalism. We need more reporting. We need more programming that serves our community. And I'm so proud of the work that your team has done and that GBH has done to offer a whole new show. What's not new for public radio is tote bags.
Hey,
here we go.
Old reliable.
Tote bag could be yours. It would be our pleasure to send you this gift for a $10 a month pledge to GBH.
That sounds very reasonable to me. You make a contribution of $10 a month. We say thank you with the one and only tote bag. This new tote bag features a statement: public radio is a beacon of the free press. I think that's something we can all get behind. 888-897-9424 is the number to call. You can always do it online at gbhnews.org. Sustaining member, $10 a month, or you can give $120 all at once, and we can thank you with the tote bag.
So, Edgar, you know, and I know, and our listeners know that membership drives have taken on a new urgency and a new meaning in the past year with the ending of federal funding. And that means that your contribution, listener contribution, is more critical than ever to keep public media strong. So we ask you to stand with GBH in this moment. Speak up and say how much you appreciate that GBH is actually investing in more programming, more reporting, expanding the schedule. That is defiantly going in the opposite direction and bucking the trend, and it's only possible because of listener support.
It is your support that has made it possible. I mean, I think about the last few years at GBH and what we've been able to do with your support. We have added the Culture Show. We have now added the Curiosity Desk. As Patty was just saying, we are fighting against the tide, and we are creating new programming in a time when a lot of other news outlets are shrinking. Why are we able to do that? Because you are standing up and doing your part. And the beautiful thing is, your part doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be onerous. It doesn't have to be something difficult for you to do. If you can make a gift of $5 a month, or $10 a month, or $20 a month, or heck, just a one-time gift of $10, whatever works for you, that works for us. What we're looking for is for you to stand up and do your part in a way that's comfortable for you, that makes sense, and just says like, hey, yeah, I like this programming. I like that it's available for free, and I like that it's available in my community, not just for me, but for those around me. 888-897-9424. It's a simple phone call, and you can make a huge difference when you make it right now.
gbhnews.org. The phone number is 888-897-9424. However you give, the fact of you giving is what really makes a difference here. And don't forget, for a $10 a month donation, we'll be glad to send you a tote bag that you can carry around town with pride.
Nothing says public radio more than a tote bag.
Nothing says public radio more than a tote bag. I will say, however, your show today, Edgar, is a pretty good example of what public radio does great. You have put together two topics on the serious side of what actually keeps the international order in place. And what are the physics of jumping in the air 5 times and spinning around with knives attached to your feet? We're going to get into ice skating coming up.
Well, one of the things we love about the Curiosity Desk is the premise is our listeners, you out there, public broadcasting audiences, are curious people. They are interesting, curious people who are interested in the world, and we're trying to do our best to connect you with that world in a way that is delightful. So that's what we're asking you to support. But not just this, all of the programming that you get on GBH, Morning Edition, All Things Considered, The Culture Show, BPR, your contribution keeps the entire station strong. And again, $10 a month. We can thank you with a tote bag. 888-897-9424 is the number. If you prefer to do it online, gbhnews.org. One more time, here comes the number. 888-897-9424. And thanks. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. If you're a frequent listener of this show, you know that one of our favorite questions is, how close are we? Today, we ask, how close are we to reaching humanity's limit in figure skating? Recently, we had an opportunity to speak with 2 MIT researchers about what is next for the sport with the 2026 Winter Olympics underway. Those researchers, MIT professor Anette Peko Hosoi. In 2015, she co-founded the MIT Sports Lab, where she's currently the faculty director. And Jerry Lu, who's both a graduate researcher at MIT and founder/CEO of something called OOFSkate. That's an AI-powered app changing how skaters measure and track their performance and push talents to the edge. Our conversation began with Peko explaining how and why she decided to build a space for sports research at MIT.
So we founded the Sports Lab about 10 years ago, and the idea was to give MIT students and MIT faculty a chance to apply their technical expertise to problems in sports, to advance the state of the art, to help athletes, achieve the maximum that they can achieve. And one of the things we found was that on the MIT campus, a lot of people were already kind of closet sports fanatics.
And they were afraid to say it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You would say, oh, what have you been working on? And they're like, oh, I'm working on computer vision, and I also do sports statistics. So we wanted to bring them out and say, you know what, that's a legitimate use of your skills. So, and give them some opportunities to look at real data.
MIT has sports teams, so it seems like it should be okay to be a sports fan at MIT.
It's so funny because at MIT, I don't know if people have been on the MIT campus, Mass Ave runs between like the academic buildings and the gym. So there's this physical barrier that we're trying to cross.
Jerry, how did you come to be involved at the sports lab at MIT?
I was Peko's graduate student from 2022 to 2024.
And how was that?
That was great. Our sponsor at that time was Australia Cycling. I was learning how to study the sport of BMX freestyle, which is a fully artistic sport on a bike rather than a timed sport who crosses the finish line first, which makes it very interesting to study.
So when you say study, I would love to get a sense of what we mean when we say study the sport. Like how did you study the sport?
This is a particularly interesting challenge in sports because everybody thinks they're an expert in sports. Right, I've watched a lot of sports.
Totally,
I know what I should be studying.
And it's a hallmark of a sports fan. They think they know more than anybody else.
Exactly, it is the hallmark of a sports fan, and it is a great quality. It'll let go of when you start to do research. Right, you really have to dig in and talk to the people who are living this daily to understand what is the question that you need us to address, and it's probably not the one that you think they need.
All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about OOFSkate. First of all, OOFSkate, Jerry?
Yeah, so previously I worked with some swimmers, and whenever they see me and you show them some technical target of opportunity, they're like, oof, did I really look that bad? And when I started showing up to the skating rink, when the athletes fall, they're like, oof, that hurt. And so we were like, okay, this could
be the name.
Yeah, we could run with that.
I want to talk about skating. You talk about BMX, and sort of in passing, you said it's a fully artistic sport. I think people think of skating. I think one of the things right now, if you talk to skaters, there's a little bit of tension in that world about the technical aspect of the sport and the artistic aspect of the sport. Your work is centered on what? The technical aspect, the artistic aspect, both?
I say much more on the technical aspect, but you can't obviously ignore the artistic part of the sport, as you just described, right? This set of rules was announced in 2002, post the Olympics in Salt Lake City.
And what are the rules what were the rule changes that you're talking about?
Oh, the governing body of figure skating, the International Skating Union, they actually set up this judging system instead of just you get a 10, you get a 9.
Yeah.
They actually set it up so that it's points. Rather, there's the artistic score, that's called the component score, and the technical score, which is if you do that element, you're going to get this score. And if you do that really well, you're going to get a higher score than if you don't do it well. And so that there is no room for error.
Yeah, because this is, in general, I think a really fascinating question about this tension between technical and artistic. And a while back, I had one of our students did a study to look at the evolution of the scoring of artistically judged sports. So gymnastics, boxing, surfing, skating. How does the And in almost all of them, they always start the way Jerry said. So they start with just judge this on a scale of 1 to 10. And a judge holds up a sign, 7.6. All right. Yeah. All right. And then at some point, people start developing more and more complex moves, things that are harder to sort of to say, okay, was that thing that guy did harder and better than this thing that's totally different that this guy did, right? So then you have to kind of make a scale where you say, okay, I'm just going to say each one of these technical moves is worth this much. And that's how, so every judge is going to count that the same way. So in all of these sports, there's a transition that goes from hey, that looks like a 7 to me, to this is worth this much. And when you change that scoring, you change the incentive system.
Yeah.
Right? So it's no longer about how do I make the judges feel like this performance was a 10, to how do I stack up the things that are worth the most amount of points into one performance.
It also feels like you've now started to create a bunch of more granular data points. And that's where I think of, people at MIT, they're like, ooh, this is for us. Now we can kind of crunch the numbers in a way that we couldn't before. So what are we exactly doing with OOFSkate? So, I think we all hear all the time, well, they're working with AI. And it's like, AI, what does that even mean? It's not the same across different disciplines, but it does sound like you are using AI. So what exactly are you doing with OOFSkate?
So I guess AI is a very broad term.
Yeah.
It refers to pretty much any model that takes in an input and spits out an output that is technically an AI because it is artificial. It is a model that takes in an input. But more specifically, what we're trying to do is, can we use a 2-dimensional video of an athlete performing a triple axel? How can you measure how quickly these guys rotate without having to slap a sensor on these athletes? Because there are times where you can't do that.
Yeah.
And can you just do that from video using these new computer vision techniques that came out in the last 4 to 5 years? And turns out you can actually do that, and you can do that to a very reasonable degree of accuracy where it's useful. It's still not exactly correct, but you can get a very good measure of how fast they rotate, how high they jump, without having to wear what you would probably call an accelerometer or an IMU to figure out how exactly they
I'm just going to jump in because I think Jerry is underselling himself a little bit on this. So one of the tools that's available nowadays for AI is called pose estimation. And what you do is you put in a video, like a video you take on your iPhone.
Yeah.
You put it through one of these pose estimators, and it spits out a skeleton, right? So you get a little stick figure that now is doing
of what was moving through space.
Of whatever was moving through space, exactly. And one of the things, if you only have one camera angle, which oftentimes in these, for skating, so you only get whatever you got from the broadcast video or whoever's got that camera on the ice. From one camera angle, there are some things that you can measure pretty well, and some things that the pose estimator is not good at, like depth.
A certain kind of distance, right? It's like, how do you know?
How do you know? Exactly. There's no reference for that. And so one of the things that I think was really insightful about what Jerry did is he figured out, what is the thing I can measure that is relevant to skating that doesn't depend on depth, which is counting the number of spins, right? So he has actually found something that is probably the most valuable thing to the people in the sport, and can be measured fairly accurately with the technology that's available.
So what is it that they are able to get the athlete or the coach when you're able to kind of give them the information that you can now give them based on, just a single video, it sounds like. Right. What is the thing they then know that they didn't know before, right? I sort of feel like if I'm a skater and I go up and I do a triple jump, I sort of know if I hit the triple jump or not. But like, what is the thing that you're giving me that I didn't already know?
So obviously, there are things, right? An elite athlete, right? If I were to go do a jump, I would probably have to think about, okay, I need to get my foot in position, I need to get my body, I need to get ready my arms, and I need to prep my technique. An elite athlete, they probably thought about that when they were learning, but as they got to higher and higher levels, this got turned into intuition, where they just know whether or not they're going to hit that. But occasionally, things that might pass a coach's eye test might not pass what a computer vision or an AI model would tell you. And maybe your hand is a little out of position. Your elbow is a little sticking too much to the side when you're in your air position. These things that you intuitively are doing to help yourself balance, right? Ultimately, when you're at the elite level, everything is a trade-off, right? If you go for more balance, meaning you're wider, that means you'll spin slower. And if you're tighter, you spin faster, but you're more prone to falling. And falling is bad because
it's not good for your score.
Well, because you lose half of your base value and you get a 1-point deduction. So that just kills you.
So it's, I asked at the start, kind of like, are we reaching the limits of humans' ability to do what they're doing on the ice? I mean, obviously the quads are like a big thing right now. You're now inputting a whole bunch of data. You're understanding how things are working, maybe inching more people who don't have a quad yet toward quads. Where are the limits? Do you look at it and say, is there anybody out there saying, can I get around 5 times? Like, is that on the table, or is it just trying to get to a world where, just like the triples now you have to do, or are we just trying to get to a world where everybody can do quads? Is there another signpost down the road we can get to? Is a quintuple possible?
Yes.
Yes.
Mathematically, yes. From what we see some athletes that are already attempting, right? Because if you know how to do a quad axel, which Ilya Malinin can do that, that's 4.5 rotations already. So you're really not having
We
to
just need half a rotation.
Just need half
Are you
more.
like salivating? Like, we need to get there. We need to get there.
Yeah. Yes. I would love to. I would love to see that, but ultimately, it's very unlikely that we'll see that at the Olympics. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see probably 5 guys that could land quad axles after the Olympics, and maybe in maybe a year or two.
That's amazing. I agree. I think since we're already at 4.5, I think you can get to 5. And when you look at this progress in sports, in any sports, you can see, like, obviously progress goes in one direction, right? We keep getting better and better. The equipment gets better, the training gets better, the know-how gets better, but it does asymptote. So the progress gets harder and harder to get those advances every time. So I think we will see a quint, but I wouldn't want to place bets on when we'll see it.
Okay. So with the OOFSkating, Jerry, I thought I read that essentially, like, this started because NBC Sports was like, we want our analysts to be able to, like, break this down. Can you, like, make something for us, Jerry? And that's kind of how it started. Is that true?
Yeah. I met NBC Sports at the Paris Olympic Games. We were there for our Olympic swimmers then. And then I met them there. And once we got back, they're like, the Winter Olympics is coming up. And there's really not much, right? You see, if you watch tennis, you have, right, first serve percentage, second serve percentage, ace number of, right? And in figure skating, this is a sport where it's hard to come up with these numbers.
So they wanted some numbers for cool graphics and stuff like that, essentially.
Because figure skating is supposed to be easy. There's a in the rule book that's called, in the grade of execution rule book, there's an actual, I guess, a deduction or a plus that's just called effortlessness, or I think some word that's similar to that. So it should look easy.
The aesthetic is like you're supposed to look like, oh, I'm just going for a walk in the park here.
It should look like it's so easy that you think you could. But that's the problem, which is, right, that relatable is there. But just to tell you how hard it is, that's why hockey looks slow on television.
Yeah.
But when you go there and sit there, you see the speed at which these guys run into the side. The rink boards, that's loud, and you can hear that crash into the rink board. And figure skating is the same, and they would like to be able to have some way of showcasing that.
And I'll also add that it's not unusual for a lot of these technologies to first get introduced in broadcast and then move to coaches or athletes who use them in different ways. It's like, for example, with in baseball, for watching a baseball game, there's always that strike zone.
Yeah.
You can see the strike zone. The umpire cannot see the strike zone.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
It's true.
And so now Major League Baseball has just went through a new rule change that says, okay, now that you can have a challenge where you now have access to that data. But again, the broadcast audience had access to that data well before anybody in the game had access to that data.
Yeah. You know, I wonder, I mean, we're talking about all of the limits of, like, human performance on the ice. But also, at its core, there's a physics challenge happening, right? I think your background, Peko, is in fluid dynamics, right? And so you have a skate that is moving across ice. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand, in a certain way of looking at it, we still don't even understand exactly how that works. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Amazing.
It's incredible how complicated this is, because you have because the the skate is so narrow, it gives you this very high pressure region between that tiny little layer between the skate and the ice, and it's very hard to understand what's happening in there. Like, are you compressing this in a way that converts that ice to fluid, so you're really on a tiny little fluid layer, but then is that fluid layer on a smooth piece of ice, or is it on a rough piece of ice? Am I breaking off chunks of ice? Am I just doing a phase transition? It's really hard to see that. If you think about it, how would you look at that? You'd have to make, like, a transparent ice rink with a microscope underneath and have a skater go over it. So it's complicated.
I see Jerry looking at you like he's like, I think I could do it. But you have a look in your eye like, maybe I could do that, actually.
You could probably do that, right? Like, tow tanks exist, right? We test ships in small pool before you actually send ships out in the ocean and the river to test, and then before you build them on an actual ship. So you could probably come up with a small scale blade that could work.
Okay, as two people who have, as we said earlier, studied the sport of skating, where the Olympics are happening, people who are casual observers are probably watching more skating, right now than they will for another 4 years. For folks who know it and have studied it, what are you looking for and what can people be looking for when they're watching skating?
Oh, okay, I'll tell you, when I watch skating, I'm just enjoying the skating.
Okay, so it is okay. It is okay
totally
to just
fair.
enjoy the skating.
That's totally fair.
Good to know.
Yeah. Jerry probably has a different answer for that.
Yeah, I generally just get nervous when I see the athletes that we work with perform.
That's Jerry Lu, founder of the figure skating analytics tool OOFSkate, and Anette Peko Hosoi from the MIT Sports Lab. By the way, those Boston skaters Jerry worked with, the ones he is too nervous to watch, Emily Chan and Spencer Howe ended up placing 7th overall. Alexander Selevko, who competed for Estonia, placed 16th overall, and Maxim Naumov finished 20th. Now, we spoke just before the Winter Games began, before all the drama on the ice, and at this very moment, Jerry is working for the Olympics for NBC. He's running their camera feeds through his software and doing real-time analysis, the results of which you might have caught on their broadcast. Here he is explaining it. Where will you be and what will you be doing?
Probably in Stamford, Connecticut, and working with the feeds that we get and figuring out the data so that the commentators, right, the Tara Lipinski, Johnny Weirs, so that they can tell a story to America, explain to them the sport that is so interesting to watch. Why was this deducted? Why was this not? And you can actually see that in the data, why this is deducted and why this isn't.
Do you hang out with Johnny and Tara?
I would like to, but I don't get to very much, no.
But you have met them?
I have met them, yes.
All right. Are they nice?
They're nice. They're fun. They're fun people. Yeah, they're fun. They're fun to be around.
All right. That's Jerry Lu. We've been speaking with Jerry Lu and Anette Peko Hosoi. She's a professor of engineering and mathematics at MIT and the co-founder and faculty director for the MIT Sports Lab. Jerry is a graduate researcher at MIT and founder and CEO of OOFSkate, as well as Johnny and Tara's best friend. Well, we've had a lot of fun these winter games getting into the science and practice of Olympic sports. You can explore more of those stories on the GBH News YouTube channel. And, well, that just about does it for us for now. Tune in tomorrow for the great debate. Is it better to pull forward into or back into a parking space? You can call or text in during the show, but no need to wait. Leave us a voicemail anytime. You can weigh in on the great parking debate or ask a question at 877-301-8970. Stay with us for the Culture Show with Jared Bowen coming up in just a few minutes. He welcomes the author of the new novel Last Scene, which opens with 4 young men who vanish and then speak from the afterlife, comparing notes on the lives they left behind. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Loss, and Nicole Garcia. Patty Daniels is the rotational momentum in all of our quad jumps. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Special thanks today to David Goodman and Andrew Massawa. We'll be right back here in 23 short hours, live on GBH 89.7 and live streaming on YouTube. Until then, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
The Curiosity Desk today was made possible by our listeners who give money to GBH. That support is the only way to keep programs like the Curiosity Desk on the radio. So please do your part during our winter membership drive online at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Sam Derringer.
The goal right now is 4 contributions in the next 7 minutes. If you've sat on the sidelines during past membership drives, please step up now as a sustaining member or make a one-time gift. The money you give now will help ensure the future of NPR and GBH News. Every dollar makes a difference. You can get started when you go to gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
Every day, GBH brings you trusted news, meaningful conversations, and stories that matter. Please know that we are not funded by billionaires or beholden to shareholders. Instead, we are powered by you, our listeners. Your financial support keeps us independent, accountable, and focused on what truly matters to our community. So please give now to fund the future of radio that you trust, because here you are our most important stakeholder. Call 888-897-9424 or make your gift online at gbhnews.org.
It's not public radio without a tote bag. When you support GBH for just $10 a month or $120 all at once, we'll give you a tote bag as a thank you. The tote features the statement, "Public radio is a beacon of the free press." The free press empowers people to make informed decisions and participate meaningfully in civic life. The free press enables journalists to investigate and report on matters that may otherwise be overlooked or suppressed. This is your way to take a stand. Get that tote bag today. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
And hey, maybe you're new to the area and you've just on listener contributions for the most important source of funding. If you like what you hear, then please consider signing up as a new sustaining member at just $5 or $10 per month. That monthly contribution, joined with other members, will go a long way to pay for the many hours of listening you'll do. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Hey, here's Margaret in Mendon. Always something important, engaging, and informative to listen to, especially the new show with Edgar. Yes, we agree. The Curiosity Desk, the new show, everything here on GBH, we really appreciate all of your support. You can join Margaret in Mendon when you call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
And you'll be helping us reach our goal this hour. We're down to just 3 more people we're looking to hear from in the next about 4 minutes to wrap up this hour. Support your listening here to the Curiosity Desk and make that contribution right now. We feel so glad that you're doing your part to support your listening in the months ahead. And meeting these goals are so important. They keep us on track to meet our overall goal in this winter membership drive. So make that contribution by calling 888-897-9424. Again, that's 888-897-9424, or be one of the 3 people we're looking to hear from in the next few minutes online at gbhnews.org.
And the best way to support GBH now is by becoming a sustaining member. You choose a monthly amount to give. Maybe that's $5, $10, $15 or more, and it's automatically deducted from your bank account or credit card. And that monthly contribution adds up to significant support to help fund the future of GBH. So please, enroll now when you go to gbhnews.org or when you call 888-897-9424.
And be sure to ask for the GBH 897 Beacon of a Free Press tote bag when you make that gift of just $10 per month as a sustaining member, or a one-time gift of $120 all at once. You can check out what the design looks like when you give on our website, that's gbhnews.org. Again, features the statement, "Public radio is a beacon of the free press," along with the purple and yellow old-style lantern that pops against the natural cotton tote. Make that gift of support right now. Support all of your listening and ask for the Beacon of a Free Press tote bag when you make that call. 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
It is true we get contributions of $500, $1,000, and more, but most listeners get $10 a month or less their first go-around. What matters the most is that the people who love and appreciate GBH take care of it by giving what they can. So please, make your contribution now. All gifts do make a difference. That's gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And you'll be helping us reach our goal. Thanks so much to Susan and Rockland, and also to Angela and Manamet, bringing us down to just 2 more people we're looking to hear from to wrap up this hour. Join them by making that gift of support right now. 888-897-9424 or make your gift online at gbhnews.org.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Bach Center's Folk Americana Roots Hall of Fame, presenting its annual induction celebration March 24th at the Bach Center Wang Theater, honoring influential artists with tributes, live performances, and an onstage dinner. FolkAmericanaRootsHallOfFame.org. And Bonsai Bar, hosting pop-up beginner bonsai workshops at breweries across New England. Hands-on classes provide guidance in the basics of bonsai design and care in a group setting. More at bonsaibar.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, writer Christopher Castellani. His new novel, Last Scene, follows 4 young men who vanish on separate winter nights. They encounter one another in the afterlife, returning to their final days, the choices they made, and the people they left behind. Castellani joins me to talk about writing in 4 distinct voices, writing from the afterlife, and why he was drawn to tell a story where the lost have the last word. And beneath the Zakim Bridge, the Lynch Family Skatepark has become a gathering place where skating and visual culture live side by side. A new exhibition is drawn directly from that scene, shaped by the people, art, and everyday life of the park. That's all right now on The Culture Show.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. Christopher Castellani's new novel, Last Scene, introduces us to 4 young men who have vanished on different winter nights. Their bodies later found in rivers or bodies of water. What at least seems at first like a serial killer thriller evolves into something altogether different. Castellani delivers us into the afterlife, where these found souls ruminate on their earthly lives, how they lived, what they miss, and their longing to be remembered by those they loved. The novel is strikingly original for its construction and its moving meditation on what it means to remain present and visible even after death. Christopher Castellani is a Boston and Provincetown-based novelist and recipient of a National Endowment for the Arts Literature Fellowship. He joins me now to talk about Last Scene. You can also catch him in person tonight at 7 at Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley. Welcome back to GBH. It's great to see you again.
Thank you so much, Jared. It's always a joy to see you, and thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Well, I spent time thinking about it because your novel has stayed with me since I read it, and I finished it probably about a week ago, and there truly hasn't been a day that's gone by that I haven't thought about this because of the realms you explore. How would you describe the book, first of all?
I'm not very good at describing this book, I think, because I have internalized it so much. It is it's a very intimate book, I think, because the voices it's a very voicey book with lots of characters, 4 central characters, but lots of characters. And I describe it as both a mystery and an anti-mystery. I would describe it as really just an exploration of really the lives of ordinary young men and the people in their lives who have lost them too soon, and the way that the young men reflect on their lives and the people who they left behind reflect on what these young men meant to them. So really it really is a story about relationships, even though there is a mystery element that is strewn throughout it.
Well, perhaps I'll start there. Yeah. And by young men, I should say we're talking about late teens, early 20s.
College age, quote unquote.
And they disappear, each of them. Mm-hmm. They are discovered in these bodies of water, and there's a theory, at least among some of them, that they're the victims of the smiley face killers.
Correct.
And then we discover more, and I don't want to give too much away. But first of all, I'm fascinated on 2 counts. Your interest in this, because apparently this is a real thing.
Yes.
These smiley face killers, which I didn't know anything about, but also our rush to assign murder to the disappearance of people, especially young men.
Yes. I didn't know about this smiley face killer theory until 2017, 2018. There was a story actually here in Boston, a young man, Kelleher, who disappeared after a Celtics game. And he was missing for a while, turned up in the Charles, I believe.
I remember that case.
Yes. Yeah. And I was reading about it, and I read the comments, which I know you should never do, but people were talking about, oh, this looks like a smiley face killer thing, and I had no idea what that was. I went down the rabbit hole. I learned about this theory that was put forth by these two retired detectives that over the course of the past 20, 30 years, that in the New England, upper Midwest, icy climes in the U.S., that there's this belief that there's this roving band of serial killers who are going around targeting young men, college age. They all have a similar demographic: white, good-looking, athletic, ostensibly straight. And these guys disappear like Michael Kelleher did one night out of nowhere, turn up. In most cases, it's discovered that there's some rational or there's some provable reason what happened to them, but there are enough cases that are unsolved and that have weird similarities to them that keep this theory alive that there's something else going on. And I was haunted as much by that as I was by our need, as you said, to kind of explain with this completely outlandish theory. I think I don't believe this theory that there are these. No one's that organized to go around doing this. So I'm intrigued by the idea of, by our need to know who did it and why, and to have some closure, but when in life that's not what we usually get.
Well, you say in life, but then this is the interesting part. This follows these young men into the afterlives. Yes. And maybe I didn't point this out, but these four in particular do come together at points and converse, but they are reconciling how their deaths are interpreted.
Yes, exactly. They're telling their own life stories and sort of afterlife stories, from the beyond. They can all communicate with each other through the rivers, right? And they can see each other, and yet they're kind of they're fading in and out, almost like a series of radio stations, going through. And they're there. But what was interesting to me is when I started listening to them, how they were kind of reproducing all of the ways in which men are taught to be. So they're performing for each other, they're puffing each other up, they're bullshitting, they're lying, they're kind of dealing with their own histories in ways in which they want to tackle what they've done, and also they want to avoid what they've done and who they've hurt or any mistakes they've made in life.
Before I ask you about your interest in the afterlife and what is happening around us, and it could be around us as we see from your novel, because they're very intent on sticking to some of the fundamental figures in their earthly lives. What is it for them to be in this place and to have this continuing existential conversation?
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that I myself have had like a enduring interest or long interest in what happens to us after we die, but this is such a different book for me, content wise, from my other books, and what happened in between my last book and this one was getting older, 7 years older, and losing my father, some other kind of disruptive things in my life, and I think it gave me a different perspective on the whole of why we're on this earth and what we're meant to leave, and when the impact that we have on people. And I didn't do this intentionally, but I think it's interesting that I chose these four young men who are kind of in the prime of their life before they maybe have even thought about these things, except in a kind of stoner way, about why are we here kind of thing. So and that's also why I wanted to have the perspectives of their lovers, their mothers, their siblings, who are still alive, who can give us perspective not only on them but on their own lives and how their own lives were affected by them.
I'm speaking with Christopher Castellani about his latest novel, Last Scene, and you can also see him in person at 7 at Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley tonight. Well, on that note about living in this afterlife and thinking, they really focus on these fundamental relationships. What did you begin to realize as you thought about relationships and how ingrained they are in us, whether it's a lover, whether it's a sibling or a parent, and how that may carry with us into the afterlife?
Yeah. This is going to sound, I'm worried because it sounds a little cheesy, but I really do on some level believe that a love that's strong enough and powerful enough and deep enough or intense enough is a force that can kind of break through and transcend, this life and whatever the next one looks like. I don't believe it exists in any way that we could even process, but I feel like we all kind of have to believe that on some level. And so I kind of almost took that as a given, right? So I took it as not some kind of groundbreaking thing that I was going to put forward, but to sort of think about what would that look like and feel like on both sides, right? And so I have these young men sort of trying to communicate in some ways with the people who are living and vice versa, and exploring again kind of why we need to do that or what that does for us, and but also what I mainly was doing with that from the boys' side is sort of illustrating in this very literal way this thing that people have complained about for centuries, which is men's, like how bad men are at communicating in general, right? And again, in the ways that they can perform for each other is, they are very comfortable, right? But how they can express their feelings to the people they love, whether they're with one of the characters, it's too much. Like he is too extra in terms of the ways that he's expressing himself, and in others it's the opposite. And so I was just kind of exploring that, and then thinking, well, when you're not able to communicate at all, like what do you do? These guys kind of tried to find a way to do that.
How much of this, now that you've mentioned your father's passing, how much of this is processing your own grief? Because I'm also struck by the span of time that's covered in this book. It's not just immediately after their deaths that they're trying to reconcile this. They're watching the people, usually this one individual they really loved who's still alive, over a long span of time.
Yes.
And of course, we all carry on. We have to.
Exactly.
And this is one of the reasons this book has stayed with me, because I think if our loved ones are there, what do they make of the fact that we're marching on, and they have to see that happen?
Yes, and one of them, Matthew in particular, he feels this kind of rage when his mother, who would pass his photo and always kind of kiss it with her fingers when she went by, stopped doing that after a while, right? And he saw that he was being forgotten, right? And which happens to everyone. And if anyone has dealt with grief, they know that yes, there's an acute phase, but that does change, but that it comes back at you in waves, in kind of bright flashes, and at times that you didn't expect, and it is a lifelong thing. You carry it with you. It shape shifts over the course of your life, and I definitely wanted to explore that because, again, with a lot of stuff that involves true crime, you get in this kind of morbid. We're kind of morbidly fascinated by that acute explosion of grief. We almost watch it so that we can feel that along with them in some way, right? And we don't, I think, explore enough the kind of, again, that kind of shape-shifting, wave-like quality of grief that does kind of ripple out through our whole lives. So I really wanted that to be a part of this.
I want to shift a little bit to process now and how you did this. Because again, 4 men, but also the lives here, but also the lives in the afterlife.
Right.
Did you write it as we read it in the book? Did you write it in different chunks? How did you do this?
When I first started it did look more like a traditional, linear story, and then I realized that was not the way to tell this story because of what we just said about grief and the waves and the way it recurses and doubles back on itself and leaps ahead, that it had to be told in this kind of disjointed way. I think of it like a mosaic. Like the novel is really like a bunch of different pieces and voices that the reader has to put together, and it's told out of sequence. But I really hoped that the voices would be strong enough that the reader could kind of follow along, and that they would be experiencing the kind of disjointedness and the kind of discombobulation, I guess, that comes from being in this situation, whether it's losing someone who you love or being the person who has been lost or been taken out off the earth, right, and find themselves in this extraordinary experience of being in this kind of afterlife frat house, right, with all these guys, and so I really feel as a writing teacher, I always say like that the shape of the thing that you're writing should reflect the experiences of the characters, right? So you can't have a traditional linear novel that captures this. It needs a different form.
And what did it do to you as a writer to be doing this constant shifting, this constant shift of point of view among the four? I loved it. I mean, I really immersed in each of the characters. I immersed myself in each of the characters. I wasn't writing, I wouldn't write, a Matt section one day and a Leo section the next day or whatever. I really would kind of dive into each of them. And they each have these long sections in the book where they tell their whole story as much as they're willing to share, that my novelist friend Stacey DeRasmo called their soul arias, which I thought was the most beautiful description. And they really are they're their swan songs, their last songs that they can sing for each other and the people they love. And so when I was writing those arias, I really was, and I was in love with really everyone in this book. You're already skipping ahead to my next question.
I'm so sorry. Okay. But yeah, like to answer your question, I wrote them all and then I just started moving them around, right? And just kind of seeing how they would work as a story, and then adding a kind of spine with the character of James to begin in the sort of present day, and then follow him for his whole life, which I don't think is a big spoiler. He's kind of there's a control line to the narrative that I hope binds it all together.
Well, to the question that you just gave a preview of your answer, the four men are very different.
Yes.
All have different backgrounds.
Yes.
All have very different sensibilities and attitudes. First of all, how did you pull from figures? How would you say you found each of them?
So I want to make clear that none of these boys are based in any way on any real person, right? So, but I did immerse myself in all of these smiley face stories, quote unquote, right? And did pull some common themes, like many of them were, last seen in bars and were athletes or all these things. So there were some common threads, but not based on anyone in particular. Cheesy alert, I really just heard a voice, the first time. And that voice said, I am one of those boys they keep finding in the river. And I followed that voice, and that was Matthew the first time. And he introduced me to the other guys who he was friends with. And I didn't sit down. I never sat down and thought, okay, I need a guy who's like this and a guy who's like that. It really was this kind of gut instinct that basically I thought, who would Matt like? Like, I first got to know Matt, and then who would he want to talk to? Because he can talk to any of these dozens and dozens of men in the afterlife, young men, and he makes friends with these three. Why? What about them connects, what about them attracts them to each other? So, and as I wrote them and explored them and free wrote about them, that's how I got to know them and got their voices and learned about their backgrounds. One has, they each have these different situations in life, like some good families, some bad.
Well, I want to ask about one of them in particular. I don't know why, it's not something I necessarily know anything about, but I couldn't wait till every time in the book when you return to this character, Steve, who is having...
the Boston guy.
Yeah, who's having an affair with an older woman.
Yes.
A wealthy older woman. And she pulls him into her house, and I don't want to, again, say very much more, but there's the almost intergenerational aspect of this.
Yes.
There's the unconventional, risky aspect of this.
Yes.
You don't expect it to persist because the odds are stacked against them, but it does. And I was curious, well, now maybe you've said they just appeared, but what that meant for you to explore that particular relationship.
Yeah, I mean, if, other people have noticed this, and it's very strange that I didn't until late, but there are a lot of intergenerational relationships in this book. Almost all of the young men have relationships of some sort with, whether it's a close family relationship or a romantic relationship with someone of a different, with an older person. And I think maybe that was my way of just saying how we all, on some level, are always longing for someone to take care of us, right? And we kind of associate that with older people, right? Or the sense of security, a sense of safety. And of course, I also explore on the other side, what does the older person get from this relationship? What attracts them? What the power... I mean, I'm so interested in power dynamics and relationships. It's what I was interested in my last book, in Leading Men, and in this. Like, in all of these relationships, there are power dynamics that are fascinating. And in that one, yes, she's older, and she's wealthy, and she's, beautiful, but he is younger, and he's a man, and so there are these different...
He's raw.
He's raw, exactly. They both kind of sully each other in various ways, and I think that's kind of what they're getting out of it, and for her, maybe she's trifling with him, but maybe she's not, and maybe he is really serious about her, and maybe he's not, but in a weird way, I was rooting for them. I was rooting for all these relationships, even though in many ways that not all of them are very traditionally healthy, let's say.
But fascinating to read about.
You.
Well, the book is just out this week. I see that you're already getting these really fabulous reviews. Congratulations on your success with the book.
Thank you so much, Jared. It's always a joy to talk to you.
Likewise. Christopher Castellani's latest novel is Last Seen. You can catch him tonight at 7 at Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley. He has a number of book events coming up. To learn more, go to his website and check out the events page. That's at ChristopherCastellani.com. We'll also link to his site on ours. Thank you again. Coming up, the Lynch Family Skatepark, one of the largest in the country, doubles as an open-air gallery. We'll take you inside Free to Be, a new exhibition shaped by the artists, skaters, and community who have made this concrete canyon their own. That's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
This is The Culture Show on GBH, and we're in the midst of our fall membership drive. All of this, the interviews, insightful discussions, the witty banter, it's all fueled by your contributions. So, while you're thinking about it, please take just a few minutes right now to give and help keep the conversation going. Make that call to 888-897-9424 or pitch in online at gbhnews.org.
It is day 2 of the GBH Pledge Drive. Support GBH at $10 a month. We will thank you with our GBH 89.7 tote bag. The new tote bag features the statement, "Public radio is a beacon of the free press," along with a purple and yellow old-style lantern that pops out big time against that natural cotton tote, and it is 100% cotton. Sign up as a sustaining member to GBH at $10 a month, or you can give $120 all at once. It's entirely up to you how you'd like to get it. And ask for that GBH tote bag. You can give online at gbhnews.org. Just click the donate button there, or give us a call. Someone really nice will pick up the phone at 888-897-9424. Good Thursday afternoon to you. Welcome to The Culture Show. I'm Henry Santoro, joined by the host himself, Mr. Jared Bowen.
Thanks, Henry. Well, now that federal funding for public media stations, including GBH, has been eliminated, the future of this public service is not secure. The only way to ensure we remain strong is with contributions from our listeners. So we ask you to stand with GBH in this moment, as the government told us to go fund ourselves, as the billboards all around town reminds us. So you can give at 888-897-9424. It's the funding that allows shows like The Culture Show, something pretty singular in this market, not to mention the country, can happen, because we believe in arts and culture here at GBH. Our number to give is 888-897-9424, or you can give online at gbhnews.org.
Not a new member yet there, Bunky? What are you waiting for? GBH and the Curiosity Desk and the Culture Show are here for you because someone else thought it was important to make it available to our community. Just $5 or $10 a month is all it takes to become a new member. Make it $10 a month. We'll get you that GBH tote bag. You can carry potatoes in it. It'll be a tater tote. 888-897...
Well done, Henry.
Don't get me started, Jared. Don't get me started. 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Making a contribution during this fund drive won't take long at all. We just need a little contact information and how much you'd like to give. Whether you sign up as a sustainer or make a one-time gift, your gift now will help keep everyone in our community informed in the months ahead. And the tote bag does look kind of nice, I have to say. It's like Paul Revere himself created the lantern and popped it right down on the tote bag. Our number is 888-897-9424 or go to gbhnews.org.
It's like the Culture Show. It's totally awesome. Give $10 a month, $120 all at once, and be sure to ask for that GBH tote bag as our thank you to you. And we do appreciate you listening, not with one ear, but we know you listen with both ears, and we love that. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on our GBH News YouTube channel. Stretching out beneath the Zakim Bridge in East Cambridge, the Lynch Family Skatepark is one of the largest skate parks on the East Coast. 40,000 square feet of poured concrete shaped with and for skaters, BMX riders, and inline skaters, and all spearheaded by the Charles River Conservancy and the Lynch Foundation, who birthed the project out of the Big Dig. The park also doubles as an art space. In most cities, graffiti is treated as vandalism. At the Lynch Skate Park, it's vaunted. Its concrete bowls, stairs, retaining walls, and highway pillars are intentionally given over to large-scale graffiti and mural work. Supported by an official graffiti artist-in-residence program that invites artists to create, host public events, and teach. The mix of skating and visual art is now the focus of Free to Be, Skate, Paint, Imaginate, now on view at the Multicultural Arts Center in Cambridge, showcasing murals, photographs, and visual work rooted in the life of Lynch Family Skatepark. Joining us to talk about it all is Taylor Leonard, Program Manager of Community Partnerships at the Charles River Conservancy, and Matt Ringler, a photographer, participating artist, and curator of the exhibition. Welcome to The Culture Show. It's great to have you both here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I run by this skate park all the time. And I love that it's an outdoor gallery that's constantly changing. Taylor, let me just start with you. I remember covering this years ago, actually, with Renata von Charner, who I believe is associated with the Conservancy.
Of course, the founder of the Conservancy, yes.
She had this vision from the get-go, decades ago, that this should be this great space in Boston, now in Cambridge. Now that it's developed, how would you describe where we have landed in terms of its use?
Sure. Well, again, you mentioned Renata, who at the time had this lovely friend named Nancy Schoen, who created the Ducklings and the Boston Commons. And there's this lovely story where Nancy talks about skaters in the Commons around the artwork. And really, to their credit, they thought, well, if there are skaters, around the Ducklings and on the Ducklings, maybe they need more of a space to enjoy their craft. And so really, it was an opportunity to, cover a brown field and fill the space under the Zakim Bridge with this incredible skate park. I'd say since that time, especially during the pandemic, which is about the time that I joined the Charles River Conservancy, there is some percolating conversation about graffiti exploding at the skate park. And from an agency perspective, it's, oh no, there's graffiti exploding at this skate park. And really, I was coming from an arts background and saying, wow, this is really incredible what's going on, this form of expression. And it's really because over the years, graffiti artists and street artists have laid the groundwork to really, bring awareness to their creativity and their art. And so because of that groundwork that was laid, it really opened a door for the Charles River Conservancy to explore programs and avenues to celebrate what was taking place at the skate park.
Well, let's bring in Matt to this conversation. Matt, what does this skate park represent to you? Because again, I run by it and I see the community. You get it's palpable, the sense of community. How are you tied to it? I'm
tied to it mostly through the Free to Be show. also photograph a lot of local quad skaters in the area, specifically and especially when it's warmer out. Is called Skate Hags, which is a weekly skate night. And then so a bunch of the skaters I've met through them also skated at Lynch. And then Lynch is just kind of, one of the biggest parks in the Boston area that's really centrally located. So everybody's kind of coming from all over there, and it's real, a good meeting point. Because, all these other parks that you kind of have kind of scattered around Cambridge and the city are more smaller spots that you might use, by yourself for the day, but not as much of a hangout spot as Lynch kind of ends up being, because it is so big. There you have such a wide range of disciplines. You have inline, quad, skaters, BMX, scooter. You have everything there, and then they also have just all the graffiti art, which is which will even if you're not a skater or somebody like that, you'll walk by it and you want to stop and look at it, just because it's almost like full outdoor gallery even.
Well, I wonder about this, and Taylor, maybe you can explain how some of the etiquette goes. I wonder about this as I see works that disappear sometimes overnight because, of course, they've been painted over and a new work emerges. What's the exchange among artists for creation?
Well, I think a lot of that is really attributed to the culture that's been developed through street and graffiti art. And even what I learned from our previous artists in residence, AOA Supply, each of those members, Soams, Mar, JB, 183, and Doe, all talked about this path for creating, and that you really want to strive to create a great piece so that there is...
So it's not just about tagging.
It's not just about tagging. It's really creating a piece to make sure that it has some room to breathe. And I think there's a general respect and relationship amongst community members to recognize the effort that's put into a piece, even a piece that's a learning, right? You don't have to be a professional artist. You can also be an emerging artist, but there really is a culture of recognition of that effort that allows for pieces to have some time. Although, yes, there's definitely turnover, and you have to expect that if you're creating a piece, you might not see it the next day.
Nothing is permanent. We learned that about everything, as we just talked about in the last segment, too, with Christopher's book. Matt, you are the curator of this show. Let's start with the title. We'll have to break in just a moment for our pledge drive, but Free to Be, that is such a lovely title, especially Imaginate in the title. How did this concept rise up with you from what you observed at the skate park?
So the title itself was actually decided on before I came on as a curator, so I didn't...
But you didn't change it.
No, I didn't change it. But I didn't get to decide on the title. But I used that title kind of to help what I would focus on to bring in, because a lot of people, when you think of either an art show or something like that, and with skateboarding or any of the other disciplines, you're either thinking of video or photography, because that's the most common. But on the show, a lot of the artists themselves are skateboarders, but their medium might be more traditional stuff, either like oil painting or we have some photographers. We had some people who use broken skateboards as their canvases and all that stuff. We have people who painted on skates. We had one who was like a comic artist. So the idea was not just to say we're showing off art that shows skateboarding or Lynch or anything like that. I wanted to show off people who skate at Lynch who are also artists, or people who are artists who take inspiration from Lynch or use Lynch as their kind of main area, so that it kind of expanded what the show would be, and more kind of create the vibe of less of someone looking from the outside in. Like if you're just looking at photos or just looking at videos, you're kind of like an outside observer. Whereas if you're looking at someone's painting that might not necessarily be a painting of a skateboarder or someone or of Lynch, but it was inspired by their experience there, you gotta get more of an idea of that.
And what has it meant for these artists to have this exposure that then goes into a gallery at the Multicultural Arts Center and have that opportunity so that their visibility has been raised?
Yeah, for a lot of the artists, I heard, a lot of artists came up to me and said how great it was, because it was their first show that they ever got to participate in and kind of show it like that. A lot of other artists might have, we had other artists who, they're working artists, freelance artists, but most of their work is shown in more traditional spaces or more that, and not necessarily directly related to, say, their interest in skateboarding or stuff like that. So, during the opening reception we had, I got the feedback from a lot of them that it really felt like it was more of like a community gathering, less so of just like, come to this art show, look at the art, and kind of that's where it ends. So a lot of people were, not necessarily talking about the art, but talking about like their skating and this and that and all of that together.
We've been showing images of the exhibition on our GBH News YouTube stream, and I love seeing all the happy faces. Typically we don't see galleries filled with people like that you get these very static shots. So to your point, you can see the joy right there. We'll continue this conversation in just a moment. We're talking about Free to Be, Skate, Paint, Imaginate, now on view at the Multicultural Arts Center in Cambridge, showcasing murals, photographs, and visual work rooted in the life of Lynch Family Skatepark. The conversation continues on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show. Smart local conversations about arts and entertainment with context and insight every weekday afternoon, brought to you by listener support. Now it's your turn to keep the conversation going with an ongoing contribution in any amount. Please sign up as a sustaining member during our membership drive. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Support GBH at $10 a month. We would love to thank you with our GBH 89.7 tote bag. It's a beauty. The new tote bag features the statement, "Public radio is a beacon of the free press," along with a purple and yellow old-style lantern, just like Paul Revere used to carry, that pops out against the natural cotton tote. It is 100% cotton, 15 ounces of eco-friendly cotton. You could just cuddle up with that tote bag. Sign up as a sustaining member to GBH at $10 a month or give $120 all at once and ask for the tote. You can cuddle up with Jared Bowen, too. Just give us a call at 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. I'm Henry Santoro, and here he is, Jared Bowen.
There's Henry making promises he cannot keep or guarantee. Let me just tell you that much. Just in the last few weeks from the Culture Show, in the last few months, you've heard from the Foster Prize winners at the ICA, focusing on local artists. We've had the great artist and photographer Sally Mann on the show, talking about her process and new book. Noelle Trent from the Museum of African American History, telling us how they're moving forward and still managing to thrive to the extent they can amid all of these federal funding cuts. We are covering the arts far and wide here on the Culture Show. Your support makes all of this possible, so please join with others to pay for the news and conversations you'll hear on GBH in the months ahead. Again, our number is 888-897-9424. Don't expect a cuddle when you call 888-897-9424 or hit the donate button online at gbhnews.org.
But it is a beautiful tote bag, that's for sure. And like Jared was just talking about the skate park, just want to let you guys know that speaking of skating, the Canada team, the women's U.S. Women's ice hockey Canada team is beating the United States women's team right now 1-0. Boo! Sustaining membership is a monthly giving plan. It's very easy. It's the easiest way to give here at GBH. Just pick up an amount to charge to your credit card or your bank account. Whatever you decide is fine with us. Some people start with $5 or $10 a month. You can go up to $15 or $50 a month. We'll take whatever your budget allows, and you can give a lot more if you'd like. Join the Beacon Circle. That is a circle that comes with a ton of GBH perks. Give online right now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
Listener support really matters. It affects the public media stations across the country differently differently. We've seen some on the verge of closure. We've seen layoffs at places like GBH, but it helps us to do things like the Culture Show. As I mentioned in our previous segment, we're one of only few shows of its kind in the country, certainly the only one in the whole New England region, which is focused to daily arts and culture coverage, bringing you artists of international renown, bringing you local artists, taking you to a skate park in Cambridge where you can see art of the moment. This is our intention. We can only do this through listener support. So call us at 888-897-9424.
And if you don't think what's happening with the national with people in Washington are doing to us here at Public Radio, just look what they're doing with Stephen Colbert. I mean, still a lot of fallout from that episode on Monday night when they canceled. This is what we're all facing, folks, and it's very serious. And as the Colbert Show goes, comedy is very serious business, and Stephen is finding that out big time right now, and so are we. But pick up this tote bag. It'll be the winning bag at the grocery store. $10 a month, $120 all at once. Ask for the GBH tote bag as our thank you gift for you. 888-897-9424, or go online and click that donate button at gbhnews.org.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the exhibition Free to Be, Skate, Paint, Imaginate, now on view at the Multicultural Arts Center in Cambridge. It showcases murals, photographs, and visual work rooted in the life of the Lynch Family Skatepark. I'm joined by Taylor Leonard, Program Manager of Community Partnerships at the Charles River Conservancy, and Matt Ringler, a photographer, participating artist and curator of the exhibition. Well, to continue the conversation we started just a little bit ago, for people who maybe haven't looked down when they're crossing the Zakim Bridge, there is this whole fabulous world that's happening beneath. And this isn't just making something of nothing. This was deliberately designed, and it has turned into even more, as we were talking about, with all of the graffiti art that's happening. So, Taylor, I'm wondering if this was a model that really did spring out of visions of local luminaries, or if you modeled it on other things that were happening around the world. And conversely, are people inspired by the skate park? Is it now happening in other places because of what we've done here?
Sure. Well, I think the most important part to recognize about the program that's currently in place, which is both free walls, so an available place to go and graffiti paint just as an individual, work on your skills. Also, a graffiti street artist in residence program over the summer. That took place because we have really wonderful partnerships with DCR, the Department of Conservation Recreation, and Mass DOT.
It occurred to me, it is their bridge.
It is their bridge, yes. So there are some pillars that hold up the highway along with the skate park itself. But I think what's most important about this program is that it didn't come from the Charles River Conservancy. We heard about this graffiti that was taking place, and we thought it was a good opportunity to talk with members of the skate community to really learn what was important to the culture of that space. And so we spent about 3.5 years having listening sessions, talking with the community, building up an understanding of what was most valuable at the park. And through that work, it was really determined, we had some artistic consultants, like this group called Agency, really wonderful support, to look at what was important. And ultimately, that was celebrating the graffiti, but also celebrating the skate community as a whole. And through that work, we've also been able to bridge pathways for advocacy. So in the process of talking with DCR about developing this program, we also talked about turning the lights on an hour later, which had about 500 signatures for a petition at the time to keep the park open until 10 p.m. So it really has become a space for community and open a pathway to, further advocacy.
I have to say, I passed by at some point within the last year. It was a summer night. It was late. The lights were on, as you say. I felt like I was walking into an 80s movie. It was so cool. It looked so great. People were having so much fun. It was like a party. It was
music videos are filmed there. There's DJs that are performing. I think Bridgeside Cyphers, Sunsets, to be a few partners that we've been able to work with. It really is an amazing space. Photography that takes place. So Matt can definitely talk to capturing those moments.
Yeah, it must photograph well. In fact, I was running by the other morning when I saw a whole band set up, and it felt to me like they were shooting an album cover or something in the middle of winter. This was one of these freezing cold mornings, but it draws people. I mean, there's just this power, this magnetism to it.
Yeah, it's a very, from a photographic standpoint, it's just a very visually interesting place because, if you were to look up pictures of it, you'll see a lot of pictures where you'll see the bridge, kind of the lines of the bridge over it, which kind of create this arcing, overhang, and then some other angles you'll have, that sand and gravel building, yes, and the train tracks behind it, or you can get if you really time it well, you can get a shot of the commuter rail going by. And then you also have all the graffiti, which, because it is more of a curated graffiti space, you have, and it's allowed these artists to say hey, you can come here, you can work as long as you want, do whatever you want. You have these very striking pieces there as well that create a very visually interesting backdrop to a lot of the photography that I've done there. And if you look it up, you'll see that as well, and it just makes it a very visually unique space that is less than just okay, this is a skate park in a suburb, or this is just a skate park and kind of we had this empty space that we kind of put it in and there's not much around it. And then you can get a lot of skyline images of the city of Boston and all that. So it has a very visually interesting look to it.
And how has the vibe there changed with the artist in residency program, which is relatively new?
Personally, I haven't experienced a different vibe change in terms of that, but you can definitely see, especially the graffiti pieces on the pillars there. You can definitely tell that these are pieces that were allowed to be given time to be put there, not I need to get this up in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, under the guise of the night or something like that. So you can really see that. So it does kind of have that look to it, where if you walk down all places in Alston that also have similar spots where they've allowed graffiti artists to use wall space, and they're allowed so there's much more vibrant, grand pieces there.
Well, to that end, Taylor, what's the acceptance that people are now understanding about graffiti art or street art? We see it in museum exhibitions. We just had Roberto Lugo on the other day talking about how this is transferred into his ceramics. It's part of our cultural DNA now, so we're seeing new generations and evolutions of it. What do the groups that are involved with the skate park recognize that its place and time are definitely now ensconced?
Well, I think there's been so much before this program that has led us here. I mean, even from not even the very beginning, but you had, huge artists like Basquiat, Futura, Fab Five Freddy, Lady Pink, that were all really creating such attention on the work. And so, through that history, it has really developed into an art form that people can appreciate and love and value. And I think the skate park really tries to take that on. It's really important that as the program is developing, only creating, pathways to advocacy outside of art and in tandem with art, but we're allowing creativity to continue to express itself, including for the skaters, right?
I was just going to ask, what's the relationship between artists and skaters?
Well, definitely in the Multicultural Arts Center Free to Be show, you can see that creativity is coming from skaters, but also when you're skating, you're often photographing your tricks, you're filming. There are skaters that have created their own music videos, and our past artist in residence even talks about how motivating it was to see someone work on a trick over and over again until they get it right, at the same time that they're painting and trying to get their, right composition in place. And then the crossover between the two when you're at the park, being able to, take a spray can with you while you're still on your skates or your board and have that interaction, it really is just a mutual motivator for that sense of creativity.
Well, it's a fascinating, I don't even know what you call it in the city, because it almost defies description because of everything that coalesces there and comes there, and because it's always changing. It's an organism. That's what it basically is. So thank you both for being here to talk about it, and congratulations on the exhibition.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Free to Be, Skate, Paint, Imaginate is on view at the Multicultural Arts Centre in Cambridge, showcasing murals, photographs, and visual work rooted in the life of Lynch Family Skatepark. It's on through March 6th. Matt Ringler is a photographer, curator of the exhibition, and a participating artist. Taylor Leonard is the program manager of community partnerships at the Charles River Conservancy. Again, thank you. And thank you for listening to another edition of The Culture Show. Tomorrow we will not be at the Boston Public Library at our studio there, because the BPL studio is currently undergoing a tech overhaul. Instead, tune in for a Best of the Culture Show featuring my conversations with Robert Reich, Marianne Leone, and Sam Waterston. The Culture Show crew is Max Chow Gillette, Kate Dillis, and Chelsea Mers. Our intern is Anna Hu. Today's engineer is Bill Piacitelli. Patrick Lally produced our YouTube live stream. I'm Jared Bowen. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
The NPR programs you want with local and state reporting that helps you understand your community, only made possible through listener contributions. Now, we're raising money today to ensure that NPR and GBH News, the